Back here in Minneapolis, and after 31 years, the Dome's farewell season. Rod Chudzinski, the first-year head coach of the Browns from Toledo, grew up a Browns fan, college tight end, longtime assistant. Now he is the #1 guy for the Browns. And Leslie Frazier in the Super Bowl as a player with the Chicago Bears, a NFL assistant, took over the final 6 games of 2010 for Brad Childress. Led the Vikings to a 10-6 record last year and the playoffs. The electrifying Cordero Patterson with a 105-yard kickoff return last week will be deep back for Minnesota. And to kick off is Billy Cundiff, who wasn't with this team until the very first week of the season. After a kickoff field goal battle that produced no winner, they signed this guy off the street after he was let go by the Jets. It's the Browns and the Vikings. And here we go from the Dome. And Patterson will bring it out for Minnesota with a block and flying up to about the 20-yard line. Obanaya brings him down. That's a 29-yard return, which takes us to the third-year quarterback, Christian Ponder, who grew up in the Dallas area, went to Florida State and played for Bobby Bowden. He was the number 12 overall pick, the 4th quarterback, and here he is in his 3rd year starting for the Vikings.
But you see the 4 interceptions, Kevin. We talked to Christian Ponder. He said his #1 primary goal, protect the football, try to keep his team on the football field by converting 3rd downs.
Tight end Carlson on the move, first down and 10. Adrian Peterson. Not a whole lot there, 71. Rubin was there with the step. That's a good sign for the Browns. A gain of 4. He's up to the 24-yard line. Khalil was a Pro Bowler a year ago, just a 2nd-year player, but he is staggered just a bit, and Sullivan is the center, even though he was injured in week 1. And the weaponry. Simpson, one of the top receivers right now in the NFL. Peterson, everyone knows his story. And Greg Jennings, the longtime Packer, now Viking. 2nd down and 6.
Ready? What's hot?
They go outside. Rudolph brought down by Robertson. Great pressure on the play by linebacker Paul Kruger. Hits a gain of 5 to the 29-yard line. Just shy of the 1st. Taba Rubin is back, one of the top tacklers on any defensive line in the NFL. #1, in fact, since 2010. Desmond Bryant comes over from the Raiders. He's had a lot of sacks so far. Kruger comes over from the champion Baltimore Ravens. Well, Jackson leads him in tackles. And the headliner here is Joe Hayden, commonly known as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Peterson on 3rd down and 1. Behind the line block, Zach Ryan, the fullback, and as a pickup of 4. And Solomon, he's out to the 33 with a first down.
Wow, what a run by Adrian Peterson. He told us he was going to come out and be very aggressive in attacking the line of scrimmage. Felt he ran with a great deal of hesitancy in the game last week on a real sloppy turf at Soldier Field in Chicago.
Said he was trying to do too much, and that's one of the reasons why he was hesitant.
Even the great ones sometimes have to dial it back and understand how to recalibrate their game.
And he is a great one. 1st and 10, first possession of the game, Ponder. Good block by Johnson. Oh, he's got his receiver, Jennings. Belted out of bounds by Gibson. The catch and run to the 40 of Cleveland. A pickup of 27 and a first down.
How about the poise of Christian Ponder? Watch over on the right side of the field, because he had been covered by 99, Paul Kruger. Kruger drops coverage. He gets behind him, and then Jennings able to make the catch there in front of the safety, Taiwan Gibson.
Jennings had 5 receptions last week in Chicago, so Deshaun Gibson makes the stop. First and 10 from the 40.
What's hot?
Peterson holding on for dear life to quell Jackson in a gain of a yard and down to the 39-yard line of the Browns.
Well, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, it's clear they want to come out and they want to establish the run game with Adrian Peterson. They want to allow him to get his rhythm, attacking the line of scrimmage, forcing tacklers to get him on the ground. And it usually takes more than one to do that. Then that's going to set up the play action pass. We've already seen that with Christian Ponder.
Peterson had 100 yards on the ground last week against the Chicago Bears. 2nd down and 9.
Zero. Ready? See that? What's hot?
And Peterson weaving his way. Kruger got a hand on him. Ward is right there, and also on that line, Desmond Bryant. That is a gain of 4. Just inside the 35 on the game-opening drive.
Oh, you just got to love the way he picks his way at the line of scrimmage. There's some penetration. Look at the nice footwork. We see him pressing the line of scrimmage, always moving forward with that aggressive running style. When I put the tape on this Minnesota Vikings team, I saw a team that's better than their 0-2 record on both sides of the ball.
More importantly, they feel they're better than 0-2.
And they are.
Gerhard is in. 3rd and 5. Great time. Great catch. Down to the 15. Grabbed by Jarius Wright. He's the 3rd receiver. He's out of Arkansas. A pickup of 20 on 3rd and 5. And a Viking first down.
Now, Ponder's got to throw a better ball because this should be a catch and run opportunity for Wright. He had to turn, twist his body, and came down with the catch. So it is complete for Christian Ponder, but I'm sure he's going to go back, look at it on tape tomorrow and say, ball placement is really operative here because I think that could have been a catch and run and closer to a score for Wright after the reception.
Peterson back in, 8th play of the drive. Ponder a perfect 3 of 3 throwing the ball. Play action here. Oh, look who they've got. What a knockdown by Screen, looking for the tight end, John Carlson. I don't know if Screen knew it hit him, but thankfully for the Browns, it hit him and deflects away, incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
All right, he was wide open on that one, Kevin, and he was open for quite some time. And you could see Screen just rallies. Maybe the ball thrown a little bit behind him. He was so wide open, I could see why Ponder just lofted up. But, you know, the fans are sitting there waiting with bated breath for Christian Ponder to cut that one loose because Carlson was wide open all alone in the end zone.
Screen very fast and makes up for some time there. 2nd and 10. Line the block. Adrian Peterson near the 6 and continues to move the pile. Robertson had a hand in there. There's Rubin. And Jaquel Jackson, gain of about 8.5 perhaps for Adrian Peterson in his 7th season out of Oklahoma. He was the number 1 pick and taken after Joe Thomas, who was selected by the Browns, and that was a story in the media in Cleveland and in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I remember when both players were on the draft board, and of course, you know, Cleveland has always been wanting to improve their offensive line, and boy, Adrian Peterson already the franchise leading rusher here in Minnesota.
3rd down, long one, Peterson to the 2, picking up 4. Brought down by Barkevius Mingo, the rookie.
Look at the power. One cut and go. That downhill aggressive running style. You know, we're going to talk about Trent Richardson a little bit later. He was traded. This is the kind of runner. If you're going to be one of the elite backs in the NFL, I think Adrian Peterson is a good example of maybe what the Browns thought they were getting when they took Trent Richardson with the 3rd overall pick in last year's draft, because Adrian Peterson is definitely the real deal.
That's Guyon, a defensive lineman, leading the way for Peterson, who is struck by Jackson, and he's in for the touchdown. A 2-yard touchdown run by Adrian Peterson has put the Vikings on their first possession, up 6-0.
They came into this game saying they wanted to improve their red zone offense. They needed to finish off drives with touchdowns, not field goals. This is how you do it. This is the hammer, and it appears as though the Cleveland Browns defense is the nail. They're hammering away. You can see the ball right there exposed, getting penetration on the goal line. That's a touchdown for the Vikings.
His 3rd touchdown run of the season, the 79th of his career. Reigning MVP taking it in. Good-looking drive. Ponder on that drive, 3 of 4. As they will review every scoring play, and that's what we are in the midst of right now. As it stands, an 11-play, 80-yard drive in just under 6 minutes, and they'll count it.
Yeah, you see it right here. And they just got some help from his lineman. Look, there's guys pushing him across. See the ball exposed, breaking the goal line. That is a touchdown because he's still up.
Good 3rd down, too, for the Vikings on that drive. The extra point, Walsh. So big plays of 27 through the air to Jennings, 20 yards through the air to Wright, and then AP takes it to the house from 2 away. Vikings had some red zone issues last week in Chicago late.
Yeah, and Christian Ponder made some plays. And anytime you give the ball to Adrian Peterson in the red zone, things tend to turn out well. Something that Les Frazier and the coach is stressed all during the week. Better red zone execution.
Greg Little is back to retrieve the kickoff, and it goes out on the nice one from Walsh. 27-year-old Brian Hoyer from Cleveland comes up next. The Stone Arch Bridge. That's the Mississippi. First down and 10. Brian Hoyer. Good block by Obaniah. Best with the drop. Allen was covering across the middle. Second down and 10. Boy, Best doesn't drop many. He gets the start today, as does Brian Hoyer. Second career start. A one-time backup to Tom Brady in New England, now with the Cleveland Browns.
They're looking for Brian Hoyer to provide a spark. Someone, whether it's Willis McGahee, whether it's Josh Gordon, who comes back from a 2-game suspension. They need a spark for this offense that scored only one touchdown in their last 24 possessions.
Second down and 10. Rainey with his first NFL carry. Bobby Rainey out of Western Kentucky. He was signed the week of the first game of the season after his let go by Baltimore. Gain of a yard. This line has struggled just a bit. In particular, the right guard, O'Neal Cousins. Schwartz has struggled at the right tackle. Joe Thomas is the anchor there, and Mack a terrific center. Best now is promoted. He becomes the second wide receiver. They welcome back Josh Gordon. He has a knack for making big plays. They need him today here in the Dome. Third down and 9. Obaniah is in. A block for Hoyer. His receiver fell. Bess, and also they had Gordon. Bess was in the line of fire. Gordon was on the sideline, short of the pass by Hoyer. 3 and out for the Cleveland Browns in their first possession.
Josh Robinson was matched up in coverage on Devon Bess. Hoyer is expecting him to make it over to the boundary. He tripped, got tangled up with the defender, never made it over there. We get a 3 and out for the Cleveland Browns.
Spencer Lanning will punt to Marcus Sherrills, who is the only University of Minnesota player on this Viking roster. And he gets off a beauty from the 23-yard line. Adamosi brings him down. You can see the flag there at the 25-yard line thrown. It was a 56-yard punt with a 6-yard return. Bill Levy is our referee here inside the Dome this afternoon. Built back in 1982. That's how long the Vikings have been here, and they're going to raise it. They're going to play next couple years.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 21 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty. First down. Timeout.
Josh Robinson. Yeah, next couple years are going to play over on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Second possession coming up for smiling Christian Ponder. Timeout. Now the Cleveland Browns are the talk of the NFL this week with their in-season trade early in the year. Well, by Eric Dickerson. That was a trade from the Rams to the Colts. Herschel Walker dealt from the Cowboys to the Vikings. Jerry Rice dealt from the Seahawks to the Seahawks from the Raiders. Randy Moss was traded, as was Carson Palmer. You don't see him very often, especially just 2 weeks into the year. But that's what the Browns had to do this week. And Ponder going deep, looking for Cordero Patterson. The coverage on the play by the fastest defensive player, Buster Screen. Incomplete. Second down and 10.
Buster Screen, Chris Owens, cornerbacks for the Cleveland Browns, going to have their hands full today because the Vikings, after watching tape of their previous 2 games, feel like that's where they can go to make plays. Already taking a shot at Buster Screen using the speed of the rookie Cordero Patterson.
What's hot?
On a second down and 10, this is Adrian Peterson. Zach Line with the block and a tackle made by Paul Kruger on a gain of a yard to the 16. To New York and James Brown.
Before the Packers touch the ball once, they are down 14-0, Coach.
Yeah, this kickoff right here, Jeremy Ross is going to fumble. It's going to be picked up by Taylor Mays. That's going to lead to a Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis 2-yard touchdown run. And like you said, 14-0, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't even touched the field yet.
Thank you for clarifying that, Coach, because I guess the Packers did at least touch it there, but they didn't get a play to run. All right, back to Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcox.
Bengals coming off a nice Monday night win against Pittsburgh.
And that would be a huge game to win at home against the Packers today.
There's a 3rd and 9. Adrian Peterson hit by Robertson, broke the tackle of Hayden, gets out to about the 22-yard line on 3rd and 9, picks up 7. 2 yards shy, and the Vikings on their second possession will have to punt the ball.
Huge answer for Ray Horton's defense. After the 3 and out by the Cleveland Browns offense, Cleveland Browns defense back on the field. Look at the tackling, swarming. That's how you have to play against Adrian Peterson. You got to bring everything you got to get him on the ground.
Jeff Locke, a rookie out of UCLA, sends this to Travis Benjamin back about the 31-yard line. 45-yard punt. Hoyer and the Browns with the second possession, trailing 7-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Toyota Care. Scheduled maintenance, no cost. And by Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
After the Viking punt, here's a second possession. Hoyer finds Bess, 42-yard line. Sanford is there, close to a first down at the Cleveland 42. This Cleveland offense has only scored 1 touchdown in a little over 2 games.
Yeah, there's their starting quarterback, Wheaton. He's out with the sprained thumb, the sprained right thumb, so he sits out today. I found it interesting that Rob Chizzinski said he looks forward to having him back as a starter, but they felt like he held on to the ball too long, struggled with his vision, took too many sacks.
Open eye on 2nd down and 1, and wrapped up by Everson Griffin. Close to the first down, 42-yard line or so.
And now Hoyer is in as the starter for Rob Chizzinski. As you take a look at him there, they believe that, you know, they skip right over Jason Campbell, who had been another number 2 quarterback, and they go with Hoyer. And they felt like Hoyer has greater mobility on a fast surface against this attacking front 4 of the Minnesota Vikings. They felt like he gets the ball out faster than the other 2 quarterbacks.
McGahee is in on 1st and 10. Hit on the play by Desmond Bishop. His role, they say, will increase. No gain on the play, 2nd down and 10.
Willis McGahee is one of the guys they bring in after trading Trent Richardson. They believe that McGahee, along with their committee of running backs, will give them equal, if not better, production than they were able to get from one guy. That's the thought process behind this whole trade that we've heard about all week. When we talked to Rob Chizzinski, that's one of the things he talked about, have huge confidence in Willis McGahee.
Openaya back in, 2nd down and 10. Whoops.
His arm was moving forward, Kevin.
Yep.
Then the ball came out.
Although
Hoyer,
Kevin Williams.
Yeah, Hoyer wanted to throw it, but then he didn't like the way the linebackers broke on it. Watch, he changed his mind just as he loads up the throw. No, don't want to. But ball came out as the arm was moving forward. That's not what they expected. They talked about the ball coming out quick. It's not what they had in mind.
His only start was last year with Arizona in Week 16 against San Francisco, when he was 19 of 34. Second career start today. 5 years out of Michigan State. 3rd down and 10. Thomas the block. The tight end Cameron. And he may have gotten the first down. He did, to the 47-yard line of the Vikings. A catch and run of 11 on 3rd and 10.
Now look at this throw. See ball placements. The one thing that Hoyer, I think, brings to the table that maybe the other quarterbacks, particularly Wheaton, is missing a little bit. Not only the ability to hit the intended receiver, Jordan Cameron, but allow him to create yards after the catch. It allowed him to be able to extend beyond the defense and pick up a first down. The accuracy in terms of ball placement from Hoyer is where they feel they have an improvement at the quarterback position.
Rainey in the backfield from the 47, 1st and 10. Again, they take care of Allen. Oh, they've got the receiver, Gordon, and that is a touchdown. They work on Smith and Jefferson, a 47-yard strike by Hoyer. And caught by Josh Gordon, returning from the 2-game suspension.
How is this for accuracy, Kevin? It's a double move. Now, Gordon, they've been wanting this. Look, they set him down, A.J. Jefferson, and then they would get beyond him. It's just a wonderful route being run from Gordon. We told you at the top in our Home Depot tools that this is the guy that provides the long ball that really had been missing the first 2 weeks in the Cleveland Brown offense.
Only the 3rd touchdown throw in Hoyer's 5-year career. His longest pass of his career. And it's hauled in by Josh Gordon, who was a supplemental pick a year ago out of Baylor in the 2nd round. Cundiff will tie it. Under 5 to play in the 1st. How about this? A wide open, streaking Josh Gordon hit by Brian Hoyer, and the Browns have tied the game. Literally, as the ball was being thrown, we were told that A.J. Jefferson was in because Chris Cook has a groin injury, and cashing in, exploiting that, was quarterback Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, the Vikings defense allow their 6th touchdown pass on the year, and Hoyer took advantage of them without Cook in the game. Double move to Josh Gordon, torching the Viking secondary.
The Cundiff kickoff is out of the end zone. Touchback to the 20-yard line for Ponder and the Viking offense. And tomorrow on CBS, it's the mother of all Mondays as the final season of How I Met Your Mother begins. That's tomorrow at 8/7 Central, only on CBS. So we have a touchdown pass of 47 yards by Hoyer and a 2-yard touchdown run by Adrian Peterson of the Vikings.
You can tell both of these teams desperately need to avoid going 0-3, and I think you're going to get the best shot from both teams as well. Everyone thought Cleveland had waved the white flag of surrender.
This is Peterson, grabbed by Shear, hauled down in a loss of a yard back to the 19-yard line. Shear now playing as a stand-up linebacker after being down as they change from a 43 to a 34 defense.
So much talk had been about, of course, the trade of Trent Richardson. There's so much of the talk about who's going to play quarterback for Cleveland. We're not talking enough about the Cleveland Browns run defense, ranked 5th in the National Football League, taking on Adrian Peterson today. It's probably going to be their toughest test all season long, but if they can stop him, well, they'll stop a lot of running backs this year.
Second down in the long 10, load hold, trying to hold off his rush, and there is an incomplete pass. Rudolph was in the vicinity, and the coverage on the play by Gibson and by Ward. 3rd down and 10.
There's the Cleveland Brown run defense that we talked about, and you can see what they've done. They've got the likes of Bakevius Mingo. Of course, when you talk about yards allowed per game and yards allowed per rush, only allowing 2.0 per rushing attempt, that's best in the National Football League. So they're very formidable in their new 3-4 defensive set, not allowing Peterson on the edge.
Mingo is in on this play. 3rd and 10, grabbed and brought down by Billy Wynn. Billy Wynn, starting 10 games last year, comes up with the play. It's the first sack by Cleveland. They knock down Ponder back inside the 20, loss of 6.
Mingo forces him to step up in the pocket, and Wynn takes advantage of that. He's able to get pressure in the face of Christian Ponder. So I think Barkevius Mingo has really added something to this defense, playing for the first time last week in Baltimore.
He had a deflection last week. He had a sack. He was all over the place. Travis Benjamin deep back for the punt by Locke. Benjamin probably the fastest player on the offense. And from the 37, here he goes. Chased by Marvin Mitchell. Zeroed in by Jefferson. And the decision to go deep. Losing 7 after the 49-yard punt. So 3 and out. Download NFL Mobile and never be without football. Get coverage every NFL game and exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Call ** NFL. There's a flag thrown on the play, or go to NFL.com/mobile. And the flag was picked up. I don't know if there was an assessment or not. Bill Levy and his crew discussing. 47-yard touchdown pass by Hoyer on his 2nd possession. As a starter for the Cleveland Browns in a city where he grew up, went to St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland. Grew up a Browns fan. His favorite player was, he had a lot of favorite, but Bernie Kosar was one of them.
Got a call from Bernie Kosar this week. He said, can you imagine that? I get to start for my hometown team, and the quarterback I rooted for as a little kid used to pretend being Bernie Kosar in my backyard. I get a call from him every week. You might say this is a dream come true for Brian Hoyer.
Holding on Cleveland was the call, and you can see the confusion continues. Well, they rectified it, whatever it was. So
the enforcement was correct from the end of the run. 1st down.
To the 18-yard line. So 2 consecutive 3 and outs by the Minnesota Vikings. Here is the 3rd possession for the Cleveland Browns, with Bobby Rainey in the backfield and Hoyer with 3 wide. is Gordon again, looking for a block, and that's exactly what he got from Little, and he's off to the races, and here comes Josh Gordon. Racing up the side, brought down by Aaron Henderson, a catch and run of 30 yards, and he's got the first down to the Cleveland 48.
Josh Gordon is 6'3", 225 pounds, and he can run like the wind. Look at him breaking tackles, the speed. And I think it's smart to use a little bubble screen, get the ball out to him, allow him to create some yards after the catch. He was sorely missed from this offense, which really lacked an explosive playmaker of his talent in the first two games.
Obaniah is in, and bodies are moving. They have taken out A.J. Jefferson, and they have put in Marcus Sherrills, again trying to figure out how to replace the starter Chris Cook at the corner.
Neutral zone infraction. Number 69 of the defense came into the neutral zone, causing an offensive man to false start. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
First and 5. Sherrills is there. Also got in Robinson playing the slot. First and 5. Hoyer will run it himself, and Brian Robinson brings him down. So 2 on the play, back to the 49-yard line. We're tied here. Let's take you to New York, and here's James Brown.
Redskins D being tested again, Coach.
Yeah, Joique Bell right here is going to go from 12 yards out on this play. Detroit's going to tie this up 7-7 in Washington.
Coach, 4 attempted tackles on that play.
That's the Washington defense, JB.
God. Let's go back to Kevin and Solly. Solly can talk about that.
With Reggie Bush out, they got to go to Bell.
Yeah, and Bush wanted to play in that game today.
Obaniah, second down and 7 out of the backfield, and brought down by Marvin Mitchell, along with a couple others. Catch run of 6 down to the 43-yard line of the Vikings.
This Cleveland Brown offense look as good as we've seen it all season long. Last possession, they were able to convert a 3rd and 10 play for the first time all season. Didn't do that at any point the last 2 weeks. And what did Rob Chudzinski tell us when we met with him? Felt like this team is so close. That's been the message to his team. He said, we're that close, guys. It's going to come together here real soon. And you look at Hoyer in at quarterback, look like they may be close to having this offense to click.
Now they go to 3rd and 1. Bess has it. First down in a 3. Sherrills brings him down near the 40-yard line. This has been one of the top 3rd down receivers over the last 5 years. In fact, the second best in the NFL, mainly with Miami and now with the Cleveland Browns.
Can't say enough about that throw from Hoyer's. You take a look at the offensive coordinator, Norv Turner. We're used to seeing his offense be so much more productive than the 28th ranked offense, which is what you get after the first 2 weeks. That offense, those numbers will improve.
And he is in on 1st and 10. Here goes the end around. Gordon, there was a block by Barnage. There was a block by Greco. He's chased out of bounds by the linebacker Mitchell. And the angular wide receiver out of Baylor, racing for 22. Another first down to the 18.
Just great blocking. Watch Greco, 77, gets out in front. Watch him shield off one guy and get to the next level. And wait, Gordon's so big and long, and the speed that he has, they're putting it to work right away to help this offense. That run of 22 yards and 77-yard reception. He had a 47-yarder for a touchdown, then another 30 yards after he had the bubble screen. This guy's already has almost 100 yards total in the game.
We're now 1st and 10. Outside for Little. Shot down by Sherrills. Trying to lunge his way back to the line of scrimmage, but loses a yard. Little, who is demoted this week, back to the 19. A 47-yard touchdown pass to Gordon ties it for the Browns at the end of 1. Starting the second quarter with the Browns in the red zone. Hoyer is starting this game 7 of 10, hitting his last 6 consecutive passes.
Maybe he's the spark that Chud was talking about. He said we just need someone to spark this football team. They're so young. Maybe they needed the veteran experience of a Brian Hoyer.
McGahee is in, couple tights. 2nd down and 11. Blocked by Barnage to the end zone for the tight end. He got it. Cameron, that is a touchdown. What a catch and what a terrific throw. He beats Sanford a 19-yard strike, and Cleveland is on top.
Cleveland, you have your spark. Look at this throw from Hoyer. Great route by Jordan Cameron. Now watch the hand and footwork. Tightrope, 1-2. He's in. I know they're going to review it as you would every scoring play, but this is a great throw to the back shoulder, great catch, and great footwork by the tight end, Jordan Cameron, who's emerging as one of the best tight ends in our league. It's just an excellent play.
I don't know how you could script any better beginning for the Cleveland Browns, who come in 0-2. Cameron is tied #1 in the NFL among tight ends and receptions, and second in receiving yards. And if it holds up, and it does, at the extra point by Cundiff, that is his second touchdown reception of the season. He is a third-year player and a fourth-round draft choice out of USC, played some college basketball, and he just got a 19-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Brian Hoyer in his second NFL start, playing for his hometown team, the Browns. I mean, you couldn't write a better story so far.
Just incredible. We're learning a lot about what's going on with some of these teams. The first couple of weeks have told us a lot, and what we're seeing with this Cleveland team has shown us a lot. Let's take a look at our wisdom of Solomon. Here's what we now know after 2 weeks of play. The return of Sean Payton proved that coaching does matter in the NFL. Is it rest or is it rust? As RG3 now learns that the preseason games also matter. And hard work and talent equals greatness in Denver. That's what you get from Peyton Manning and company. And then we know that a coach and a quarterback has found new life in Kansas City, as the Chiefs are now 3-0. This is a team, they talked about looking for a spark. 7 plays, 82 yards on that drive, and already 2 touchdown passes for Brian Hoyer. Went 5 for 5 on that possession.
How about this? He's had 5 different receivers. They've had 5 different rushers, including a 22-yard gain on an end around by Gordon.
Everyone thought they had waved the white flag of surrender, Kevin. Anything but in terms of what this Cleveland Brown team has brought here to Minneapolis today.
I think, too, it's a test of character because, you know, the face of the offense had been this, who's #3 overall pick, but they make it without even blinking. And now they come back with the guys that Rob Judzinski has to coach.
Everyone questioned the organization. They questioned as whether or not the trade was good for this football team. Many people thought they were giving up by trading what everyone thought was their best player. And many people didn't even think Brian Hoyer was the quarterback who should be starting.
So Cundiff kicks it out of the end zone. Touchback to the 21st down and 10. This goes outside for wide receiver Jarius Wright. It's a pickup of 11. Coverage on the play by Chris Owens. Up the middle they came on the quarterback.
Yeah, Christian Ponder's got to rally his football team after getting hit like that by Phil Taylor. Planted into this turf. I think this team may be looking ahead of Cleveland a bit with a trip to London coming up.
That was a concern among some people we talked to in the organization.
Wow.
It's 1st and 10. After 2 consecutive 3-and-outs by the offense, Adrian Peterson. Knocked up on the play by Paul Kruger. Also hit by the cornerback Joe Hayden. It's a gain of 6 by AP.
Well, right now, the Minnesota Vikings, their offense does have to pick it up. As you can see, their last 3 possessions, they did score on the first one, going on an 80-yard drive, but a couple of punts and losing yards on their 3rd possession of the game.
Offensive line up there. They've started the same 5 offensive linemen now for 19 consecutive games. 2nd down and 4. Peterson got by Jackson, got by Robertson into the secondary, hit by Tashawn Gibson and brought down. That's a burst of 8, and that is the Minnesota Viking 1st down.
No one gets more out of every run than Adrian Peterson. Penetration in the backfield in his face. You can see Hughes in his face, making guys miss in the backfield from the time he took the ball from Christian Ponder to have a positive gain on the play.
Vikings losing both opening games this season on the road at Detroit by 10. Last week in Chicago by a point. Peterson blocked by the tight end, and that was Carlson, but coming through Kruger and Jackson making the stop, and a good one it was. He loses a yard on the play. Kitchen was also in there too. Ishmaeli Kitchen on that line.
You know, I said this Minnesota Vikings team, when I put the tape on, they appear to be a team that's better than their 0-2 record. Why? Because I saw a team last week in Chicago at Soldier Field. They scored a touchdown on offense, on defense, and special teams. They're capable of putting points on the board very quickly.
Second down and 11. Khalil with the good block, going deep for Patterson. What a catch! Working on screen inside the 20 to the 18-yard line. It's a catch, and a good one by the rookie out of Tennessee at 36.
So Patterson is a raw talent, first-round pick. And, you know, he comes in, didn't play a lot at the Division I level, spent a couple of years in junior college, but this route he can run, a 9 route, go deep against Buster Screen, who's given up a number of plays so far this year, and they throw it on the back shoulder, makes a great adjustment to come down with that ball.
One of the stories this week, Solomon, it was a major oversight in the words of Leslie Frazier that he was not seeing more snaps. First and 10 from the Cleveland 19. Greg Jennings. Knocked out of bounds by Tashawn Gibson. Inside the 10, near the 9, catch and run a 9. By the former Packers, 7 years in Green Bay, first year as a Viking.
Bill Musgrave, the offense coordinator, nice fake one-way, bootleg reverse to Jennings, and wow, and laying some licks out there. Jennings saying, I can take it. Right now, this offense is on the move. You see, this is Bill Musgrave, the offense coordinator for the Vikings. Have to come up with some imaginative, creative plays to help his team improve inside the red zone.
One-time backup to Joe Montana and Steve Young in San Francisco. Musgrave. Second down and 1. Mingo's chasing. Peterson catches. Thrown out of bounds that time by T.J. Ward. Playing with a bad shoulder today. Gain of 3 near the 6.
Well, Ward did a really good job closing in on Adrian Peterson. If Peterson can catch that ball in time to square his shoulders up to that line of scrimmage, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be a train wreck at the goal line.
But Peterson told us yesterday it's famine, feast.
That's it.
That's how I got to look at the way I'm running the ball. Don't just try to hit the home run every time.
He reminds himself of that, to be patient. Last week, that's what Coach Frazier talked about. He tends to want to hit a home run every time he gets the football.
It's Peterson on first and goal at the 7. Picked up by Kruger. There's been a nice addition in the offseason from the Ravens. It's a gain of a yard, and he's near the 5.
You know, I love this Cleveland Brown defense, particularly their front 7. Do believe they need to get better on the back end, but the likes of Kruger, Jabal Sheard, Barkevius Mingo to go along with Des Bryant, Taylor, and Ataba Rubin, I don't think you can find a bunch that's better around the National Football League, particularly when it comes to defending the run.
Second down and goal at the 6-yard line for the Minnesota Vikings. Quarterback draw. That is a touchdown. Christian Ponder.
Wow. We said that Musgrave had to come up with something imaginative, and that was it. He allows Ponder to check to himself. And yeah, they catch the Cleveland Brown defense. Look, there it is right there. No one in the middle after he breaks past the line of scrimmage. The linebackers vacated the middle of the field. Ponder saw something, just kept it himself.
2 rushing touchdowns by the Minnesota Vikings. That is his 3rd rushing touchdown. Had 2 last year, 3rd career. With the extra point put up and in by Blair Walsh. Christian Ponder taking it himself, calling his own number, racing in for 6, and we're tied at 14. Back in Minneapolis, and Christian Ponder through the air has gone 8 of 11 for 119 yards. Just had a 6-yard touchdown run to tie the game at 14-14. The ensuing kickoff by Walsh. Out of the end zone, into the stands. So Christian Ponder with the touchdown run. Here come the Browns.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Verizon. Verizon's 4G LTE is in more places than any other 4G network.
Out After the touchdown run by the Minnesota quarterback, the ensuing kickoff, McGahee begins at 1st and 10 in the backfield with Brian Hoyer. Here comes McGahee. First carry, first real whacking he has taken since November of last year with Denver. Gain of 4 on the play. And a flag was thrown back at the 18-yard line.
Illegal use of the hands to the face. Number 96 of the defense. 5-yard penalty enforced from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
It's Brian Robinson. Solomon, they announced the quarterback change. Rob Chudzinski did. At midweek, a lot of coaches may have held off and not named the starter until the weekend, just as a little play of strategy.
But he said that with all the distractions they were dealing with, they just wanted to focus on themselves as a football team. And he wanted to allow the team a chance to rally around whoever the quarterback was going to be. And for Hoyer to spend some time just getting these guys ready to go. He's got great command of the huddle.
1st and 10, Obadiah is in. He'll get it right here. He'll be chased by Desmond Bishop. He'll be hit by Josh Robinson. Running to the side to the 24 and picks up 4 on the play.
Oh, Brian Hoyer has come out. He has looked the part. He's given this team the spark they're looking for with a 47-yard touchdown strike to Josh Gordon. Did another, just a rainbow, dropping it in the bucket to the tight end, Jordan Cameron. 2 touchdown passes in the early going. You can see he's been the spark because their first 24 possessions of the season, only 1 touchdown, and now he scored a touchdown on 2 of their last 3.
McGahee on 2nd down and 6. And there's not a whole lot there. Picking up maybe a half yard. That's it to New York and James.
Well, some good body language here, Coach.
Yeah, how about this? Campbell Tompkins is a catch from Tom Brady, 16 yards. It's his 51st consecutive game with a touchdown pass. 7-3, New England takes the lead.
That they do. All right, Coach, back to Kevin and Solid.
Couple teams that practice against each other. You covered that practice in the training camp.
Patriots are on a roll right now. If they get it clicking between those wide receivers and Tom Brady, watch out.
3rd down and 6. They're on Hoyer, and he gets it off to Gordon, who they cannot stop. He picks up 5. Sherrills brings them down. They're to the 38 and about a yard shy after the 5-yard pickup. And looks like Cleveland is, now hesitancy on the part of Chudzinski, but they are going to punt it on 4th and 1.
Watch this tackle by Sherrills, because I'm thinking Gordon's about to run away from him. Look, he gets to that back leg and is able to get Gordon down. It's an excellent tackle in the open field.
And Sherrills back there to retrieve this punt with a fake and take it up the middle, and look at this run right here. It's the personal protector, Josh Aubrey, who is a rookie, who brings it up the middle. Shades of when the Cleveland Browns went to New Orleans a couple years ago with some great special teams play. A 33-yard fake down inside the 30-yard line of the Vikings.
They watch it right to Aubrey, right up the middle. Look at him breaking tackles. Staying behind the blocking up front of Robertson, is able to get to the next level. This is just a well-designed, well-executed play, and well-timed on the call by Coach Rob Chudzinski.
He was the surprise of camp. In fact, they made him a member of the active roster. They drafted Janorius Slaughter, made him expendable, now on the practice squad. 1st and 10. McGahee twisting and turning for 2. He had a workout with the New York Giants last week. They chose to go to Brandon Jacobs. He was called middle of the week once Trent Richardson was sent packing to Indianapolis.
Willis McGahee had calls, you're right, from several teams, passed the physicals for several teams as well, but he and head coach Rob Chudzinski, they go back 10 years ago when he attended at the University of Miami, and Coach Chudzinski was an assistant there, so they're very familiar with one another.
Bobby Rainey is in, 2nd down and 8. Blocked by Schwartz. Hoyer wisely throws it away. Boy, he talked a lot about Tom Brady with us last night, saying he learned so much about preparation, film watching, and just overall quarterback deportment.
Yeah, he said that Tom Brady obsessed about ball placement, not just throwing it to the receiver, but where to put it for the receiver to catch it, create yards after the catch, and where the defender could not get to it. You're talking about very great accuracy. And I think his poise and presence in the huddle, something the players talked about, his leadership, I think, comes to the forefront right away with his teammates.
Also wanted to throw it up into the stands. 3rd and 8. Bess, shy of the first, shoved out of bounds that time by Josh Robinson on 3rd and 8. He picks up 6, so a couple yards shy inside the 21. Vikings hold, and Chudzinski is elected to go for 3.
They're getting everything they can out of this offense, and they're not able to run it. Let's be clear. They're not able to manufacture many yards trying to run the football in this game today. Most of it coming from Aubrey on the fake punt.
Billy Cundiff has not missed a field goal try for the Browns. Second stint with Cleveland. 38-yard try here for the lead. He is 3 of 3. And he got it. 17-14 Cleveland. 6:07 to play before halftime. The big play, the fake punt, and a run by a rookie, Josh Aubrey, for 33. And then the 38-yard field goal. It's an undrafted kid out of Stephen F. Austin, Josh Aubrey, who took that fake punt, ran it 33, kept the drive alive. Like we said, he surprised a lot of people in camp to make the team, and he's already put his fingerprints on his early stages in the NFL. The ensuing kickoff after the 38-yard field goal by Cundiff. This is Cordero Patterson. Breaks one tackle, chased by Hazel, and out of bounds. He also got by the rookie Eric Martin out of Nebraska. Boy, he can fly. Here's another guy who can fly. Adrian Peterson. He is buckled up and ready to go in Minneapolis. Lake of the Isles in beautiful Minneapolis. I'm telling you, this area is just absolutely gorgeous. And that is a place to be. If you're not inside the dome, be outside. Here's a 1st and 10 from the 27-yard line for Christian Ponder to Adrian Peterson. Snapping on his back again, Kruger. Kruger's been in about 4 or 5 tackles already. He limits AP to a gain of 3 to the 30-yard line. And coming up on the Verizon halftime report, join JP, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for the latest NFL scores and highlights, plus a special report from Jim Nantz and Phil Simms previewing the Colts San Francisco game. Coming up on the Verizon halftime report, and of course the Colts have a new running back on their team.
Yeah, formerly of the Cleveland Browns. We'll see him next week in Jacksonville, Trent Richardson.
Gerhardt is in, 2nd and long 6. Ponder. Good block by Gerhardt. Deflected and picked off by Ward. Here he goes. And sheds one oncoming tackler. Takes it inside the 40 of the Vikings. Zach Lane couldn't bring him down. And the interception by T.J. Ward. His 4th career, the first of the season. Sports Illustrated had him on their all-pro team a season ago.
Watch number 53, linebacker Craig Robertson. He gets a hand up on it. We said you intercept all tips and overthrows on the back end of your defense. 53 gets in the throwing lane. I don't know that Ponder ever saw him as he intended to get that ball over to Jerome Simpson. Ball comes down in the hands of T.J. Ward. Great field position for the Cleveland Brown offense, and they've been known to turn over the football. 6 turnovers this season, 2nd most in the NFL. Of course, this is the 7th time this offense, they turn it over on their side of the field.
Ponder throws his 5th interception. That is tied for 2nd most in the NFL. McGahee is in, 1st and 10 from the 38. The fake to McGahee. Good strike, good defensive play by Sherrills. And again, we've got a defensive back out, and that's the starter, Chris Cook. They put in A.J. Jefferson. He was burned for a touchdown, so now they're playing some musical chairs in the secondary for the Vikings.
Yeah, let's see if the Cleveland Browns can take advantage of it. This is a defense that gave up some plays last week to Jake Cutler and the Chicago Bears. I'm sure Hoyer is hoping that his offense can take advantage of some of the backup players on the back end of this defense.
Obenai is in, 2nd down and 10. Nice block by Thomas. There they've got Gordon on the fly. Taken down by Josh Robinson. He's down to the 17-yard line. A 21-yard strike. He's over 100 yards receiving today.
Watch the fluidity in which Gordon moves. Look at him. Just good route runner, just great speed. And then we talked about the big body, 6'2", 225 pounds over the middle of the field. Just effortlessly getting open, catching the ball, and creating yards after catch.
I hope somebody has him on their fantasy team. 1st and 10. Good block by Cousins. Incomplete. Looking for Cameron. The coverage by Sherrills inside the 5. Wow,
you just love the timing of that play. It was thrown out of bounds. He's tripped up. You could see the cross up right there. See him just trip, get the arm around the waist right there. But they're saying that ball was going out of bounds. But had that ball been placed on the money, I think they would have called Sherrills for pass interference.
Double.
Bobby Rainey is in. 2nd and 10. Rainey cut by Baltimore, signed week 1 by Cleveland, picking and poking his way, and Harrison Smith brings him down near the 11-yard line. That is a nice gain of 6 for him.
All right, this offense looks completely different. And I know Hoyer's doing a really good job of putting the ball on the money. But if this holds up, all the talk is going to be about what Josh Gordon gives Rob Chudzinski's offense. Norv Turner, the play caller, a guy who can stretch the field, open things up for everyone underneath, and he gives Brian Hoyer a huge target over the middle of the field.
O'Brien is in 3rd down and 4. Timeout Hoyer.
They can't risk it.
Yeah, they couldn't get Gordon in the right place. But not a bad time to take a timeout. You lead by 3. You're trying to go in and score again late first. Browns just took a timeout. Coming up next, stellar young quarterback standout is Andrew Luck and the Colts collide with Colin Kaepernick and the Niners, or the Bills will take on the Jets. And the Jaguars tangling with Seattle. Check local listings for the game and time in your area. 3rd down and 4. Hoyer. Bess could not find the handle. Sherrills was right there. At about the 7, it's 4th down, and they'll try for 3.
Hoyer talks about ball placement. This one thrown a little bit high. Bess can't haul it in. Look at that, way over his head. You put it on the money, he's going to haul that one in, and Hoyer knows it. He's like, I wish I had that one back, but he's playing well so far for these Cleveland Browns.
A fake, and it's caught by Cameron. He's inside the pylon, and that is a touchdown. Wow. Or maybe, let's see.
It looked like he touched the pylon with his leg.
Of course he did.
Thank you.
It was very obvious. It's an 11-yard touchdown pass.
Well designed. Boy, the Cleveland Browns, they're doing a great coaching job here today. Special teams coach. It's just a really good play. Look at this one. They set it up.
Spencer Lanning, who throws this over Josh Robinson to the wide open tight end, Jordan Cameron, inside the pylon clearly, and a touchdown for the Browns. They've had 2 fakes that have produced big plays and 10 points.
Just doing a wonderful job making plays for this football team. Wow.
11-yard touchdown pass by Spencer Lanning, who grew up in South Carolina, and last year Lanning was playing for the UFL's Sacramento team, and Cameron catches his 2nd touchdown pass of the day.
Cameron had been standing over there, Kevin, all alone. Easy throw, easy catch, even though he barely makes it in, the late recovery, but a good throw from Lanning to get the ball over to Jordan Cameron.
How about this kid, who's in his 1st year in the NFL? He was with Chicago and Cleveland in camps in 2011. He was cut from the Jets camp, played in the United Football League in Sacramento, and now I'm sure he just can't believe what's just happened. So the Cleveland Browns have scored on 4 consecutive possessions. A 47-yard touchdown pass to Gordon, a 19-yard touchdown pass to Cameron by Hoyer, who's making his 2nd career start. They get a 38-yard field goal after a fake by the protector Josh Aubrey, a 33-yard run, which put them in field goal position. And now the holder on a field goal with an 11-yard touchdown pass to Cameron, who's caught 2 touchdown passes today. What else are we going to see? Cundiff with the line drive boot that will go out of the end zone, and Patterson will let it roll away. Rob Chudzinski putting some life in his team on a week where emotions had to be torn in 2.
We've seen him have a fake field goal, a 38-yard run to get a new set of downs in the, or I should say the fake punt to get the 38-yard gain, and then the fake field goal for a touchdown. key plays in this game is just the ability to make plays. The reverse to Gordon on a 22-yard run. And then you have the fake punt, snap it over to Josh Aubrey, and then the fake field goal. Throw it over to a wide-open Jordan Cameron to put the touchdown on the board.
Why wasn't anybody on him? Up the middle they come, and brought down that time by a hard-charging Phil Taylor. He's brought back to the 12. It's a sack, the second one registered by the Cleveland Browns today.
Wow, they're getting pressure on Ponder. We told you this Cleveland Brown defense was better than what most people would think, because all the focus has been on all the other things, trades, who's going to be the quarterback, and quietly this Cleveland Brown defense is playing at a high level.
Loss of 7 back to the 12, and now it is second down and 17. Gerhardt is in. Ponder to Gerhardt. Wrapped up and taken down by DeQuell Jackson, who has led this team in tackles many times over the past. It's a gain of 5, and he's up to the 17-yard line.
Right now, this offense is in need of a big play. They need to keep the defense off the field because Hoyer and that offense for Cleveland's getting hot.
Cleveland has taken a timeout with 2:51 to play. That means the Browns have 1 left. Vikings have all 3. And they continue to talk to quarterback Brian Hoyer. We asked him if anybody was going to be here. He said his dad is here. Fantasy football fans, there's still time to get in and play with the best this season. New games are available to join today. Sign up now at cbssports.com/football. And his wife, he wanted to be here too. The problem is she's 9 months pregnant with her second child, so she's back in Cleveland, I'm sure, watching with a very full house. And of course, we wish them the best in the coming days. But your husband, ma'am, is doing a very nice job in Minneapolis today. 3rd and 12. Ponder going deep and looking for Simpson, who is doubled on the play by Deshaun Gibson and by T.J. Ward. And they got a punt again.
Christian Ponder wanted a little bit too much. He had a receiver. He had Simpson going deep, but then look at underneath at the bottom of the screen. That was Cordero Patterson wide open underneath, crossing the field. Would have had an easy first down had he thrown it there. Instead, he goes up top to Simpson, and he threw it late. That's an opportunity to keep your offense on the field by converting to 3rd down.
Jeff Locke was a 5th-round pick out of UCLA. He is a rookie, and he sends this to Benjamin out of the University of Miami. He bobbles it. He's hit. It's loose. It's Minnesota's ball. And picking it up and taking it the other way is Larry Dean. But they will mark him down at the 26. And a turnover, the first today by the Cleveland Browns. And it comes off the poor punt retrieval of Travis Benjamin.
Boy, that's not the spark that the Cleveland Browns was looking for. Travis Benjamin has got to field it and field it cleanly.
The kick was muffed. The kick was muffed and cannot be advanced. It's first down Minnesota at the spot of the recovery.
So it was muffed, meaning it hit it off his hands. There you see the live ball there. It was not considered a fumble recovery. You could advance the fumble had it been deemed to be so, but they're saying that he never really caught it cleanly. The ball was live simply because he touched it, but it wasn't ruled a fumble. Now they're going to take a look at it. That's what Les Frazier was like. Look, we thought he was able to have possession of it. If indeed he did have possession, Kevin, and then lost it, then it would be ruled a fumble, and in that case it can be returned for a touchdown.
This is the crew, by the way, that worked that San Francisco-Green Bay game week 1, and there were some problems in that game.
The previous play was only reviewable by the booth. Therefore, it's an unsportsmanlike conduct on the Minnesota bench for throwing the flag. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Shades of Jim Schwartz, the Detroit Lions coach on Thanksgiving of last year.
Now, here's the deal. And I know what Les Frazier's thinking. He wants to review if it's a fumble. And you can review whether or not it's a fumble, but you can't review whether or not it's a muff. And so, just some gray areas in the rule, and he gets the penalty flag. It will remain the Minnesota Vikings football.
But instead of having it deep in Cleveland territory, right around the 26-yard line, they're going to be pushed back to the Browns' 41. It's 1st and 25. Peterson is in. Ponder, Jerome Simpson dancing the screen and drilled by Joe Hayden. That's a gain of 5 on the play, and they'll put him at the 36-yard line.
Wow, we're getting a lot of boos here. And normally this place is loud for other reasons. It usually helps the offense, not hinder what Christian Ponder's trying to do with the football right now.
I don't know if any other game in the NFL has been as entertaining as this, but there's been a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, and it's continuing. A 2nd down and 20. And he's got Simpson, who's brought down by Hayden. Down to the 26. He grabs 9 right there, and we're at the 2-minute warning. 1:56 to play in the first half, and a surprise in Minneapolis.
As we face the 3rd down play, Leslie Frazier should not have had a 15-yard penalty. They really should have lost the timeout because he challenged the call on the field.
2-minute warning, 3rd and 11. Ponder, Adrian Peterson, grabbed by Hayden. 2-yard gain. He's arrested at the 26-yard line. They're going to have to settle for 3. And just to tie this up, this is the same group as I mentioned earlier that did the San Francisco Green Bay game, and they made an error in that game, giving San Francisco an extra down.
And they made an error today by taking 15 yards and marking off 15 yards on this possession once they had recovered the muffed punt.
Here's the Pro Bowler, Blair Walsh. He's out of Georgia, 4 of 4. And at home, perfect. 43-yard try.
Watch your head, Bob. Watch your head, Bob.
And he brings the Vikes a little bit closer. 43-yard field goal. 1:08 to play in the first half. 3 touchdown passes by the Browns, 2 by the quarterback Hoyer, and 1 by the holder on a field goal. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report from New York. JB and company for the latest NFL scores, highlights, plus a special report from Jim Nantz and Phil Simms covering the Colts and Niners. That's coming up next on the Verizon halftime report. So look at Leslie Frazier, who took his team to the playoffs a season ago, and in a fight with an 0-2 Cleveland team that really had so many different views of what they had done this week, trading Trent Richardson, supposedly the offensive cornerstone for the future, changing quarterbacks, leapfrogging the backup and going to the 3rd string, and it's the upright. Nice kickoff there by Walsh. And bringing back the #1 wide receiver after 2-game suspension, Josh Gordon.
And boy, has he made his presence felt in this game. 47-yard touchdown strike, a nice 22-yard catch and run right there on that play. And he's done everything. He's been a present down the field, over the middle of the field, catching the ball from Brian Hoyer. He is giving this defensive backfield for the Minnesota Vikings fits in this game so far. Already over 100 yards receiving in the first half, and you could see only a second 100-yard game of his career.
Rainey in the backfield, 1st and 10 for Hoyer. Little promoted this week, as we mentioned before, because he had dropped 4 passes over the first 2 games. He picks up 4 right there, races out of bounds near the 24-yard line, and 62 seconds to play in the first half.
Cleveland Browns offense has been hot. They've scored on 4 consecutive possessions. This Minnesota Vikings defense, we told you they came in a little bit uneven. They make some good plays, but they give up some plays, and they've given up a lot here in the first half.
Vikings in the nickel. Chris Cook, their starter, is out with an injury at groin. 2nd down and 6 for Hoyer. Right off the fingertips of the wide receiver, Josh Gordon. Picked up by the safety, Sanford.
We're just behind Gordon. When we talked with Gordon, I thought it was a real great conversation. Obviously, he was suspended for the first 2 games for violating the league's substance abuse policy. And he said, you know, I've learned my lesson. He talked about how contrite he is and the fact that he feels this is his last chance.
I'm out of chances.
He feels like if another suspension comes his way, no other team in the league is going to give him a chance. He was able to stay in the facility, wasn't able to practice, but was in all the team meetings. And boy, you could tell he's taking advantage of his time on the field.
3rd down and 6. That's on the money, caught by Bess. First down at the Cleveland 33. 9-yard pickup on 3rd and 6. Clock is stopped. First down, Browns.
You can tell. I think this is a trade that's already paying off for Cleveland. They traded just after the draft for Devon Bess, one of the best 3rd down receivers in the NFL already. I think once they settle in at the quarterback position, you're going to see his play and performance, I think, go north.
Open eye is in. Bess, by the way, 3-4 catches on 3rd down today. Intercepted. Picked off by Harrison Smith. His 2nd interception of the season. And he gives Minnesota outstanding field position in Cleveland territory with 47 seconds left.
You know, we talked to Hoyer. He says, I got to know where Harrison Smith is at all times. Clearly didn't know where Harrison Smith was on that play. Harrison Smith is, I think, one of the best emerging stars at the safety position in the National Football League. A former decathlete. He's got excellent size and range at 6'2", 200-plus pounds. He can run like the wind. And you can see he can catch the ball when it's thrown in his direction.
And in the offseason, he shares the same trainer with the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam.
Charles Patron in Nashville, Tennessee, also trains the Cleveland Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, who's a very fit man, by the way.
From the 46, rushes there. And again, the fingerprints of Paul Kruger all over the defensive performance today of Cleveland. He has been disruptive. He's made multiple tackles. He throws the quarterback down as the pass goes incomplete, forcing 2nd down and 10.
Well, they've been able to get some hits on Christian Ponder. Ponder's a very mobile guy, but he's already gone down twice for sacks and gone down a number of other times after he's gotten rid of the football, as you saw there, Paul Kruger providing the pressure.
Got 4 tackles already. 2nd down and 10. Ponder. That's caught by Patterson. Right in the middle. And an 11-yard pickup. A timeout taken. 33 seconds to play after the 11-yard catch and a first down by the rookie. Instead of quick Viking timeout, they've got it 1st and 10 from the 35 of the Browns. Ponder, who's already got a 6-yard touchdown run today. Ward makes sure he's down as he is whacked at the 23. Races for 13. Has some words for the secondary of Cleveland. First down, 23 seconds to go, and a timeout taken again by Minnesota.
Ward's lucky he's not penalized here, because once the quarterback slides, but there was no hit. I think that's what they're saying. No contact. Certainly not to the head of the quarterback. So Ward goes in head first, but good thing there, really didn't make any noticeable contact with a forcible blow.
Ponder's a tough kid now. His dad played defense for Bobby Bowden down at Florida State. We know that he went down there and played his football. He was taken after Cam Newton and after Jake Locker and after Blaine Gabbert in that draft in 2011.
He is an athlete. He needs to use that athleticism, put some points on the board in this possession before halftime.
Peterson is out. Gerhardt is in. 1st and 10 from the 23. He got by Sheard. He throws outside to Wright, who makes the grab. It's a pickup of 3. The clock at 20 seconds.
I think we saw the athleticism there. You saw him elude the pressure of Jabal Sheard. Now watch him reset to throw this ball with accuracy with Paul Kruger right in his face. Just a real good move, good athletic move and throw from Christian Ponder.
Second down and 7. Gerhardt. Well, Jackson knocks him out of bounds. Near the 10. That's a catch of 8 yards clock at 15 seconds.
Well, Gerhardt does a really good job, not just catching the ball. He knows where the first down marker is to get past it and then get out of bounds to stop the clock. They have time for maybe 2 plays here with 15 seconds to go. You've got to take a shot at the end zone. Everything else is going to be thrown toward the boundary where you can get out of bounds. You can't get caught getting tackled right around the 4 or 5 yard line.
Running back is Gerhardt, first and goal at the 10. And looking for Jennings. Broken up. Buster screen. Incomplete. Second down and goal.
Oh, Screen does a really good job getting that ball out. I thought Jennings had it for a split second. Throwing the ball to the blind spot of the defensive back. There you see Screen able to get the ball out.
That's the second pass he has broken up in the end zone today.
He's had to break up a few because they're targeting Buster Screen as the previous 2 teams, Miami and Baltimore, was able to do last 2 weeks. Now you have time to take one more shot at the end zone.
Second down and goal at the 10. Here comes Shear. Knocked it away. Picked up by Robertson. Charlie Johnson can't bring him down. Sullivan is there. Running around and out of bounds, maybe. On his feet still, and then hits the chalk, and time has elapsed. And they will call it a fumble and not an incompletion.
Certainly no points in what could have been a scoring opportunity for the Vikings. Ball, so yeah, I think that's going to be a fumble. His arm started to move forward, but the ball wasn't moving forward. Look at that right there. And Shear's able to get that ball loose before the hand can start moving forward. You know, typically if it's an empty palm moving forward, it's a fumble. See, ball's out. And see, that's an empty palm moving forward as that ball's knocked out by Jabal Shear.
Every turnover is reviewed, and that's the pause we have on the field. Shear had a good game against Baltimore.
In the first half.
Said it's end of the first half. They confirmed that it is a fumble. Ball belonging to the Cleveland Brown defense, who did a great job getting after Christian Ponder in the first half of this ball game.
Cleveland getting 3 touchdown passes, 2 by Brian Hoyer, 1 by the field goal holder, Lanning. We take you to New York after this with Cleveland on top of Minnesota 24-17 at halftime. To the end zone for the tight end. He got it. Cameron, that is a touchdown. A fake, and it's caught by Cameron. He's inside the pylon, and that is a touchdown. One of the more turbulent weeks in the history of this franchise as somebody just fell down there. That was not Adrian Peterson, by the way, but some fan caught his footing. Here we go with the Cleveland Browns on top of the Vikings 24-17. Now let's take a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture, and Spencer Lanning finds Cameron, the tight end.
Yeah, it's a fake field goal, and Spencer Lanning, the holder, just stands up, throws it over to a wide over Jordan Cameron. He catches his second touchdown of the day, and what a storyline developing here in Minneapolis, because the Cleveland Browns are just coming in here and shocking the Vikings after a tumultuous week that you talked about, and everyone thought that trading Trent Richardson, that the team was giving up. Oh no, they're anything but that. They're not waving the white flag of surrender. They're coming in here and taking it to the chin of the Vikings.
Chris Cook is out. We know that. One of the starting defensive backs for the Vikings. Cleveland is really having success against the Minnesota defense. We talked about it at the open of the show. It's not been the same statistically efficient Minnesota defense we've seen in the past.
I think because on the back end, the secondary, you mentioned it, they are dealing with some injury problems, but they're not able to get off the field on third down. Brian Hoyer's done a wonderful job getting the ball out. He has thrown 1 interception over to Harrison Smith, but for the most part, been very accurate throwing the ball. And Josh Gordon has given this offense for the Cleveland Browns a shot in the arm, just creating big plays, a 47-yard touchdown strike for Rob Chazinski, and they're pulling out all the stops, are the Cleveland Brown coaching staff, doing some wonderful creative things to manufacture plays.
So the Cleveland Browns, who won the flip of the coin and deferred, He'll get the opening kickoff here in the second half, and Little lets it fly over his head and out of the end zone.
Brian Hoyer, the Cleveland native, come out 47-yard touchdown strike on their second possession of the game over to Josh Gordon, and then just a rainbow, dropping it in the bucket to Jordan Cameron for a second touchdown toss. We already told you about the one interception, but done a wonderful job of just really putting the ball in a position where his receivers can create yards after the catch. They're converting third down plays. His offense at one point scored on 4 consecutive possessions in the first half.
Obaniah is in the backfield with McGahee, and McGahee catches. Harrison Smith forces him out of bounds and a loss of a yard back to the 19.
You see the first half possessions for the Cleveland Browns. How about that? They scored on 4 of their 6 first half possessions. The one turnover I thought could have cost them, but how about this? The Minnesota Vikings shot themselves in the foot just before halftime, could not turn that turnover into points.
Granted, they got a raw deal too on a call by the officiating crew. Second down, 12, Rainey. Brought down on the play by Chad Greenway, who has struggled the first 2 games. Admittedly, he has really been struggling. It's a gain of 4. They put the ball at the 22.
Oh, he can play better. I think all these guys will tell you they can play better. They only have 1 sack on this defense so far on the season. They have not been able to get to Brian Hoyer today. And remember, Cleveland had come in having allowed 11 sacks in their first 2 ball games. So everyone, including Jared Allen, he'll tell you, they all can pick it up and they all can play better.
Early timeout taken here. Facing a 3rd and 8, and Hoyer will talk with his sideline. You and I were talking about Josh Gordon, and you brought up a very interesting comparison talking with the personnel people that you do throughout the week. He's got the body type of a Randy Moss, and how ironic that he comes back and stars where Moss was such a big star in Minnesota.
And he's got that easy gait that it doesn't look like he's moving fast, but he's flying. And he'll go right by you. We call it sneaky fast. And you can see the explosive numbers that he has put up. He had the reverse run for 22 yards, made it look easy, a 47-yarder for a touchdown. He's provided the big play threat that I think has opened up everything underneath for Jordan Cameron and Devon Bess.
Obaniah back there with the quarterback. Hoyer, 3rd down and 8. Right on the money there, caught by Bess. He's got the first down. He's to the 32, a gain of 11 on 3rd and 8, and a first down for the Cleveland Browns.
We just told you the reason why Bess is able to get open. He's underneath, and guess who they use to lift coverage over the top? Josh Gordon is going deep. Bess, that ball was thrown right underneath the area where Josh Gordon had vacated.
He came in as the leading Cleveland receiver today. Rainey in the backfield, 1st and 10 from the 33. Here comes Allen. Hoyer, great catch by Bess. The former Miami Dolphin who was traded to Cleveland during the draft. 15-yard pickup for number 15, another first down.
Oh, Hoyer is doing a good job of just standing in the pocket, putting the ball on the receiver, and that's because he's getting excellent protection from the offensive line. Watch Joe Thomas against Jared Allen. Just rides him upfield. Locked and loaded on one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And that's why Joe Thomas simply just goes to the Pro Bowl every single year since he's been in the NFL.
1st and 10. Gordon by Sherrills, who has really played well coming in for the injured Chris Cook. It's a gain of a yard. He's to the 49.
That was just a really good read by Sherrills. If you give too much space to Josh Gordon on that particular play, he's going to stiff arm you, be able to create yards after the catch. But Sherrill closed in so quickly. Take a look at Chris Cook, who gave up some plays last week against the Chicago Bears. Brandon Marshall had a touchdown catch. Martellus Bennett, the tight end, as well on Cook.
2nd down and 9. Boy, that ball comes out quick. That's a catch made by Little at the 35-yard line of the Vikings. He picks up 16, a first down for Cleveland.
Rob Jasinski said he was looking for a spark from his offense. He's found it, not just with Josh Gordon. I think Hoyer, his ability to get the ball out quick, he hasn't been sacked yet today, and he's very accurate throwing the football. He's been phenomenal for this football team.
1st and 10. Oh, it's picked off by the linebacker, Chad Greenway. He's then tackled by O'Neal Cousins. Second interception thrown by Hoyer. 24-yard return. And Chad Greenway has his 7th career interception, the first this year, and stops the driving Browns early in the second half. Brian Hoyer in his second NFL start has thrown 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and here come the Vikings. Peterson in the backfield from their 49, 1st and 10. Peterson. There's a block in there by Fusco, and he's crossing midfield. As you can see, he's picking up 4 on the play.
No, yeah, look at this. Cleveland Browns, their previous 2 games, both games they lost. They were leading at halftime against Miami and Baltimore. Had a strong lead here today and still hold that lead, but when you start turning the ball over on the road, Rob Jasinski knows that's how you squander leads. That's how you end up 0-2. They're trying to avoid falling to 0-3 here today.
2nd down and 6. Here comes Peterson again. Oh, he fumbled the ball. He fumbled last week, and he fumbles again today. And Cleveland's got it. It was a hit by DeQuell Jackson.
Wow.
Sheard is getting up slow. 2nd consecutive game AP has turned it over.
And AP had solved a fumbling problem that plagued him a few years ago. Watch 52, DeQuell Jackson, right there. Just a violent strike at the ball near the chest area where Peterson was holding the ball. Well, look, with one arm. That's where the ball comes out. It's just a really good ability for if DeQuell Jackson was blocked. He comes off the block, able to land that strike to the ball where Adrian Peterson is holding it, and the ball comes out.
There's an injured player. It is Jabal Sheard, who's had a good game again this week in a timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Samsung Smart TV. TV has never been better. And by Ford. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more.
Vikings have turned it over 3 times today.
3 times in all 3 games so far this season. Makes it tough when you're a good football team, but you just keep turning the ball over.
Willis McGahee. Brought down by Harrison Smith. Gain of 9 up to the 46.
Best run of the day by a running back. They've been able to run it, manufacturing rush yards, whether it's a wide receiver reverse or a fake punt. But Willis McGahee, that downhill running style, you saw it right there. Now they've got to get this offense going. You can see Jabal Sheard out of Pittsburgh in his 3rd season, moving from a defensive end position from the 4-3 to an outside linebacker in the 3-4 front.
McGahee remains 2nd down 1. Willis 1st down. He was hit on the play by Marvin Mitchell. It is a gain of 3. They'll put the ball at the 49.
Right, the Minnesota Vikings squandering great opportunities. They turn the ball over on the final possession of the first half. They get the ball here on their first possession of the second half, and they fumble yet again.
McGahee 6 carries and 17 yards. Rainey is in. On 1st and 10. Rainey quickly tracked down by Josh Robinson. Gain of 4 into Viking territory at the 47-yard line. The NFL and all 32 teams are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Visit NFL.com/Hispanic Heritage to hear the personal stories of Hispanic players in the NFL. By the way, our SAP broadcaster today is Halim Zadat, one of the best. 2nd down and 6. Out of the reach of Little. Coverage by Robinson. 3rd and 6 coming up.
Little drifted on the route just a little bit. You could tell Hoyer and he were just a tad bit out of sync. Now as they face the 3rd down play, do you allow Hoyer to cut it loose over the middle of the field? He was intercepted last time he threw it in that position. and Chad Greenway picked it off when the ball was intended for Jordan Cameron. Right now, I think some other guys are going to have to make some plays, maybe catching the ball. They're trying to take away Josh Gordon, trying to take away Jordan Cameron and Devon Best.
6 defensive backs, 3rd down and 6. Out of bounds, looking for Gordon. Sherrills is on him. It's 4th down. They'll have to punt.
Now, Gordon just wasn't clear as to what was called on that play. He was jogging almost up the field. When Hoyer came backside and wanted to get the ball to him, he was not prepared.
We were just told that Billy Cundiff has a pulled muscle, so he is gone. And the punter right now, Spencer Lanning, who's thrown a touchdown pass today, is holding on extra points and field goals. You see his punt will also kick off. And this is retrieved by Sherrills at the 9. 37-yard punt. Lanning is doing it all mid-3rd quarter. Tuesday, Viking players and cheerleaders celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month as they visited Partnership Academy in Richfield, Minnesota. Vikings Football Americano Play 60 Clinic featured Vikings players. And in addition to putting the 4th and 5th graders through various football drills, they'll stress the importance of education. Top of the screen, they got a linebacker on a tight end, and here's a pass coming inside for Patterson. The coverage by Hayden on 1st and 10 after that Cleveland punt. 2nd and 10 for Ponder and the Viking offense.
Well, if there's anyone on this football team whose performance you've been able to hang a hat on from week 1 to now has been the cornerback play of Joe Hayden. He's been phenomenal, having a Pro Bowl season so far because he's shutting down some of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Sheard is still out, so Barkevius Mingo, the #1 pick out of LSU, is in 2nd down and 10. Bobbled and dropped by Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph, incomplete, 3rd and 10.
Well, Rudolph normally is making that catch. He's emerging as a really good tight end here in Minnesota. The ball just snuck up on him. I don't know if he was really prepared. Thought Ponder was going elsewhere with the ball. Turns around, ball's right upon him.
Browns will have 5 defensive backs. Ponder in Minnesota facing 3rd down and 10. Adrian Peterson with Ward. Shy of the 1st down. Gain of 3. They got a punt. 3 and out.
Ward is one of those physical safeties. And you could tell he didn't shy away from contact with Adrian Peterson on the sideline. I think he was anticipating this kind of battle against the best running back in the NFL all week long.
Jeff Watt, the highest drafted punter in Vikings history, will send this to Travis Benjamin, who muffed the last time a punt return when he was out there. Here he goes. Hit by Harrison Smith. Knocked down on the play by Robert Plant. That's a return of 28 yards. Taking it to the 43. Uh-oh, pull up your drawers. Pull up your drawers, my man.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx. Request when and where your packages are delivered with FedEx Delivery Manager. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Travis Benjamin with a 28-yard punt return as Greg Jennings talks to his Vikings. They're down 24-17. Benjamin punt return to the 43 of Minnesota. It is a 1st and 10. Raining. Jumping on him. Robinson. 6-yard pickup to the 37 of Minnesota.
Second time today that the Vikings have allowed the Browns to start on their end of the field. The previous one, the Browns were able to score on it. Right now, Les Frazier's trying to get his team to rally. They've just got to play better, Kevin, in all 3 phases of the game.
Second down, 4. Here comes Greenway, and there goes the ball. It's incomplete. Second time Hoyer's done that today, so he is following the Brady handbook and how to get rid of the ball and not throw it in play.
Especially when he saw that his intended receiver, Greg Little, was tackled by Xavier Rhodes, first-round quarterback. Look, number 29 ratched up against Little, right? Watch this. Takes him right down to the ground. And that's where Hoyer wanted to go with the ball. Once he lost his intended receiver, simply got rid of the ball. He's not taking sacks. I think that's one thing you can say about Brian Hoyer. He's yet to go down so far today.
Watch for number 15. He's in motion right now. That's best 3rd down and 4. Hoyer's second option. Oh, and he's got Gordon. That's a first down. Oh, it caught it out of bounds. His feet were on the chalk. Sherrill's defending. It would have been at the 17. Let's watch it again.
I think Gordon just didn't know where he was. See, watch. He just settle your feet right there and hold on to the ball. See, I think had he known where he was, he sort of lost track. That ball was thrown well enough to be a completion in the field of play if Gordon just hold on to it. Looks like 4th down. Well, we got 4th and 3, 4th and 4. And they may go for it here, Kevin.
How do you like this call?
I do like the call. He's being aggressive. You get great field position. Remember, we've seen a fake punt. We've seen him pull out the stops for the Cleveland Browns.
4th and 4. Batted down. Kevin Williams, but timeout. We were pointing to something. No, just an incomplete pass. We thought maybe they were going to call a timeout right before the snap. It was not acknowledged. They lose it on downs. It'll be 1st and 10 Minnesota.
If Hoyer looks over to his left, he has Chris Ogbonnaya wide open. Because of the hurry-up nature of the play, the Vikings couldn't get lined up in time. He had Chris Ogbonnaya lined up in the slot. They didn't even have a defender over there on him, Kevin.
The boos for Christian Ponder. Looked like Cleveland might want to call time and wasn't in time, and so the incompletion. Williams knocks it away. They turn it over on downs. Peterson on 1st and 10. He got by screen. He's belted out of bounds by Joe Hayden. A sprint of 8 by AP, and he's up to the 46.
Adrian Peterson told us that he felt hesitant and just it wasn't decisive. He lacked the ability to really just pound it up in there and then allow the game to come to him. Something he said he wanted to be able to do today. He nearly had 50 yards rushing early in the first half. Right now only 63 yards carrying the ball after the fumble. They've got to get him hot.
He had 100 last week in Chicago. 2nd down and 2. Here comes Mingo. There goes the pass to the tight end Carlson. Drilled on the play by Joe Hayden. A pickup of 2. They got the first down to the 49 to take you to New York and James Brown.
Giants meltdown in Carolina.
Cam Newton, 2 passing touchdowns, and right here, a 3-yard rushing touchdown. And right now, Carolina all over the Giants, 31-0.
That score came off of an Eli Manning pick. Back to Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcots.
Eli Manning leads the NFL in interceptions thrown. 1st and 10 here. Peterson into the grasp of John Hughes, plugging up the middle. And the ball down to the 47-yard line of the Cleveland Browns, and he picks up 5 on 1st down.
He picked the 5. There wasn't even a hole there off left tackle. He just ran right into Hughes, knocked Hughes back for 5 yards. And that's the kind of runner you want. If these running backs, if you want the running back position to be relevant again in the NFL, that's the mindset you have to have, and that's the style of play you need from your running back.
Second down and 5. Here they come. Hughes has recorded Cleveland's 4th sack today. Ponder goes down. Back at the 47-yard line. A loss of 6.
Wow. They were coming in. Phil Taylor, 98. Hughes. You can see Mingo pressing the pocket as well as Kruger. You got 4 defenders in that backfield of the Minnesota Vikings as Hughes is able to scoop up Christian Ponder for their 4th sack of the day.
Hughes, his 4th career sack. He had a couple last year. 3rd down and 12. They need the 41 of the Cleveland Browns. Peterson in the backfield. Mingo comes up with a knockdown there. His 2nd sack in as many weeks. He's only played 2 NFL games. The 5th sack by Cleveland. It's a loss of 2, and it's back to the 40.
This kid's phenomenal. I got to tell you, he went up against Phil Loho, number 71. You'll see him right here. Watch him come back. Look at him. Goes to the ground, gets back up. The speed and quickness in which he's able to close in on Christian Ponder. Ponder saw him go down and thought that he could run up the field. All right, Barkevius Mingle, too quick, too athletic.
Back to the 44. Jeff Locke will punt. And they can do nothing with getting the ball on downs after Cleveland couldn't get a first down on 4th and 4. Devon Best out of Hawaii at the 15. 40-yard punt. Hoyer comes back out with Cleveland on top late in the third. Mingo was the 6th overall pick out of LSU. He got hurt in preseason, bruised along August 15th. And he just had a huge defensive play. Willis McGahee on 1st and 10. No place to run, no place to hide. Loses 6 on the play. Harrison Smith comes through, and they push the ball back to the 10.
You get the sense that McGahee didn't quite know where to go on that one. If he was confused, remember he's played in this offense before. Cam Cameron was the coordinator when he was in Baltimore, so he is familiar. Of course, he's got to brush up on it. And he didn't join the team until Thursday.
12 men in the huddle. Offense, 5-yard penalty.
McGahee left late, and they're going to be called for it. Understandable with him joining the team on Wednesday.
Yeah, but whoever comes into the huddle has got to signal that he's got to come out. You can't wait till you get in the huddle and say, hey, I'm in here, you're not.
He played for Browns head coach Chudzinski down at the University of Miami, second down and 21. Obanaya in the backfield. Play clock at 5. Hoyer. It was deflected and it's intercepted on the play by Aaron Henderson. To the 9. The 3rd interception thrown by quarterback Brian Hoyer.
Wow, this is just the Minnesota Vikings pressing the issue. Sensing where the ball is positioned, we got to make a play. Harrison Smith comes down in the box to blitz. And there you can see the arm is hit. I can't tell who actually got to the arm of Brian Hoyer. It appeared to be number 95, Sharif Floyd. Deflecting that ball up in the air, not allowing Hoyer to get anything on it. And Henderson comes up with the interception.
Henderson's 2nd career interception. He's a 6th-year player out of Maryland. 1st and goal at the 9. Peterson in the backfield. Ponder. Oh, he's got him.
Wow.
Incomplete. And he had the receiver right there, Joe Webb, the former quarterback. In fact, he quarterbacked in Green Bay in the Viking playoff game a year ago.
And he's been really good throughout training camp as a good receiver. You can see just overthrown a little bit. You'd like to see him extend himself and maybe come down with that football, but Ponder's got to put it on him.
2nd and goal at the 9. It's Peterson. Well, Kruger got a hand on him, slowed him up, and then you can see the welcoming party, including Jackson and others, got him in a gain of a yard, and they'll put him at the 8.
But they had the opportunity. Ponder had a chance to hit Webb, overshot him. Now they're trying to get it in on 3rd down play. Boy, if you're the Vikings, you'd hate to have to settle for a field goal. We said they needed to improve their red zone offense coming into the game. Here's one of those opportunities. Makes a huge difference here.
Peterson at the top of your screen, 3rd and goal at the 8. He ran one in earlier. He runs in another. 2nd rushing touchdown for Christian Ponder.
What they needed, Kevin. The fans, the Boo Birds, they were booing Ponder earlier, and now they love him. Ponder's athleticism, I mean, sometimes you just got to do whatever it takes to put points on the board. He sacrifices his body here. Just watch him. They vacate the middle of the field. As the linebackers turn out in man coverage, look, see, when you turn your back to the quarterback, as Craig Robertson does there, and he takes off and runs with it.
That was an 8-yard touchdown run by Ponder. Had a 6-yard touchdown run back in the first half. And so here is Walsh trying the extra point and trying to tie it up. With 2.5 to play in the third. 24 apiece. There was the interception by Aaron Henderson on a deflected ball. Couple plays later, the quarterback, Christian Ponder, racing in from 8 yards away. We're tied. Back in Minneapolis at the Dome, and it's farewell season, and Christian Ponder has had 2 touchdown runs. Adrian Peterson's had a touchdown run. 4 turnovers by the Cleveland Browns. Minnesota has scored 10 points off those turnovers. Browns have scored 7. Leslie Frazier and Bill Musgrave, the offensive coordinator.
Hoyer already 3 interceptions in the game, 2 here in the second half.
The ensuing kickoff by Blair Walsh. On a bounce in the first kickoff return in Greg Little's career. Submarines to about the 25, 26-yard line, 27-yard return. This week, don't miss the show that's an elite by itself. The guys who take on all 32 teams and each other every week. Join James Brown, Phil Simms, Chris Collinsworth with the artistry of NFL films and the chemistry of the guys. Catch Inside the NFL Wednesdays at 9, 8 Central, only on Showtime. Hoyer has missed his last 6 passes. He's thrown 2 touchdowns. He's thrown 2 picks. He's got McGahee in the backfield. Back to throw. Henderson comes through. It's the first sack for Aaron Henderson, who's got his 5th career sack in his first of the season.
And Willis McGahee missed all the training camp. Watch him step up in front of Henderson. Henderson knocks him right back into Hoyer. Comes up with their first sack of the game. And this goes to show you training camp does matter. And we know that Willis McGahee is a 10-year veteran. Sooner or later, he'll be up to snuff because he really is a good pass protector as a running back. But you can't just step off the sofa onto an NFL field and think you're going to play at the very high level.
Second down and 18. Rennie in the backfield. Blocked by Schwartz. They come up the middle. Nobody home. It's a flag is down at the 5.
Vikings have turned up the noise.
Intentional grounding, number 6, offense. No receiver in the area. The ball did not get back to the line of scrimmage. Loss of down. 3rd down.
Well, we told you Hoyer's not going to take sacks, but watch him pour in. You can see they're coming in. There's Kevin Smith. And then he just gets rid of it. You can tell the back was supposed to get out behind O'Neill's Cousins. He just never got out there, Kevin. So when he went to dump the ball out there, he's not going to take a sack on that play. And the back's got to do a better job of getting out on the intended screenplay.
The Browns will be at their 7. It'll be 3rd and 30. They need their 36. And the run by Obadiah as he takes it up. And boy, he was close, wasn't he? He was just that close. Robinson tagged him, 21-yard pickup, a little breathing space now for the punt.
Oh, this is a nice-looking draw play. Look at him, break tackle right there. And then he set sail. Just a really good tackle on that play.
By Sendejo.
Right, that's right. Sendejo was able to get him down.
Sendejo just signed a 2-year contract extension this week. Lanning to punt. Sherrill's back inside the 30. On the 27. Oh, and he fumbled the ball. He got down, and he was hit by Chris Owens, the former Falcon. 44-yard punt, and nothing on the return. Now tomorrow on CBS, it's finally here, the premiere of Hostages. And be sure to watch it Monday so you can talk about it Tuesday around the water cooler. That's Hostages tomorrow at 10, 9 Central. Only on CBS. Vikings got an 8-yard touchdown run by Ponder the last time they had it. Cleveland just punted. 1st and 10 Minnesota at the 28-yard line. 0-2 Cleveland. 0-2 Minnesota. Ponder going deep. And no one home. He was looking for Wright. Screen was covered in others. Covering back there in the secondary. No yellow on the field. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
Vikings coaches are yelling at the officials. Last they checked, you're not supposed to be able to hit the receiver beyond 5 yards down the field. But watch what Buster Screen does here. He does hit him. There is contact initiated by Screen. I guess you can argue that Screen is entitled to his position on the field. The receiver just can't run right through him.
Peterson on 2nd down and 10. Jackson had a hand on him. Peterson has fumbled today. Also at the bottom of the pile there was Hughes. It is a gain of 2. He's up to the 30-yard line.
For the most part, this Cleveland Brown defense, they're living up to their bill. It came in with the 5th best run defense in the NFL, and I think doing a pretty good job against Adrian Peterson on his 20 carries, only 70 yards rushing on the day.
And his long run, only 9.
There you go. So this Browns defense is to be commended.
3rd down and 8. Gerhard is in. Ponder will capture the 1st down. Hayden will usher him out of bounds. He's at the 44. 14-yard scramble by Ponder. On 3rd and 8, Ponder has been as successful rushing the ball as he has been throwing it. 4 carries and 39 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He's got 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yes.
And then he's able to convert the 3rd down play. And they don't know whether to love him or hate him here in Minneapolis.
Well, should be an exciting 4th quarter here from the Dome in downtown Minneapolis, tied at 24 on CBS. The Cleveland quarterback Hoyer in his 2nd career start, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Christian Ponder, 2 touchdown runs. 1st and 10, starting the 4th from the 44. The fake to Peterson. Looking for Simpson, underthrows him. The coverage by Hayden incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
Great coverage by Joe Hayden. He knows how to win at the line of scrimmage, working against Jerome Simpson. He was able to cover the double move, the short route, and then he was able to get on top of it. I can't tell you enough how well he's playing at his position.
Second down and 10. Peterson. Swallowed up inside by Phil Taylor. The gain of 4 up to the 48.
It's offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing, I think, at a high level. I think they're doing a good job. They've been able to create some holes. They've not any gaping holes against this really good defense, but the inability to protect the quarterback, I think, is where they struggle the most today.
It's 3rd down and 6. Coming Ponder again. He goes outside. Caught by Greg Jennings. He was hit by Jackson. He's got the 1st down. Also grabbed by Robertson. Gain of 7 on 3rd and 6. And that is a Viking 1st down.
The protection did hold up for Ponder. He's able to get the ball out. Jennings in the slot. I thought when he caught the ball and came back to it, I thought he nearly gave up the 1st down. He was able to fall forward and execute the 3rd down play.
Vikings who will fly to London tomorrow in preparation for their game against the Steelers next week. And quietly people were concerned, would their heads be in this game against a winless Cleveland team?
One has to wonder.
1st and 10. Ponder looking for Simpson. They had screened but was covered primarily by Tashawn Gibson.
Oh, that was just a careless throw from Ponder. This ball was closer to the defensive back than it was his intended receiver, who was open on the play, by the way, Jerome Simpson. Now, Ponder was rolling out to his right, just has to stop and set his feet, but those are the plays that he's known for, his athleticism, getting out of the pocket, and still throwing the ball with great accuracy.
Mingo continues to take the place of Sheard at that outside backer. 8th play of the Minnesota drive, 2nd down and 10. Adrian Peterson, Mingo jumping on his back and riding him down at the 41 after a gain of 3.
Kevin, I want to go back and talk about that throw by Ponder. Remember, we saw a shot, that cold stare look of Les Frazier, the head coach, who said, we read that, hey, you'd consider maybe pulling Christian Ponder from the Bears game if he didn't get it going. He said that that report was false. He said he never considered benching Christian Ponder, his first-round pick at the quarterback position in the 2011 draft. They're going to allow him to play himself out of this inconsistent pattern that we've seen from him.
Right now he has a 3rd and 7. Here comes Jackson, and Kruger flags all over the field. Ponder racing for a first down, should they allow it. He's got the yards to the 35.
Personal foul, face mask, number 52 defense. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
That's on DeQuell Jackson. Gain of 8 right there, and they're going to tack on more. First down for Minnesota.
You know, there are some quarterbacks who need playmakers, and there's some quarterbacks who are playmakers.
Sure.
That was a great play made by Christian Ponder, because the pass rush was in on him at the moment he received the ball from his center, and he's able to stiff arm guys and elude what should have been a sack and what would be a sack. There's the one by DeQuell Jackson, and then there another by Paul Kruger. And he's still able to get rid of those guys and create a first down with his legs.
Second time on this drive, Solomon, that he has run on 3rd down to get a first down. Now at the 20 of the Browns. Here comes Peterson again. Got a great block from Carlson, the tight end, and then the Browns swarm him with Ward and screen on a gain of 5 to the 15 to New York and James Brown.
A fantasy team owner's delight,
Yeah,
Coach.
JB, we're used to this. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns passing. But look at this. He runs one in from 7 yards out. That's his 8th straight game with over 300 yards passing. Right now, they're up big, 24-7 over Arizona.
And he did not lollygag when he got to the end zone. Back to Kevin and Solomon.
You know Sean Payton, back as head coach of the Saints, is making a difference with that team.
No lollygagging with him either.
No. Second down and 5. Fake to Peterson. Outside Rudolph. Hit by Ward. Taken out of bounds at about the 12. Gain of 3.
Those last 2 plays, you see just the potential of Ponder. Watch the mobility here. Now watch this rocket shot over to his tight end, Rudolph. The ability to have great movement, as we've already showed you. He's converted 2 third down plays on this drive with his legs. And then you see the arm. The potential for this quarterback is so good that the fans here in Minneapolis, they're just waiting for him to blossom and take his game to the next level.
With Peterson in the backfield, 3rd down and 2. Oh, they got him with the blitzing Robertson, who comes in, stops the drive. They're going to try for 3. Robertson comes up with another big play, had a fumble recovery back late in the first half.
All right, they just do a good job. Look, they know he wants to bootleg to that way, so they bring the pressure from that same side. Just a great play call in anticipation by Ray Horton, the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. You keep coming back with that bootleg, we'll bring pressure from that side and force the errant pass.
Robertson, undrafted out of North Texas. Second-year player, 30-yard try here by Blair Walsh. Got it perfect in the dome. Perfect this season. A 30-yarder puts the Vikings up by 3, just under 11 to play. Talking about the athleticism of Viking quarterback Christian Ponder. On that drive, on 3rd and 8, scrambles for 14. On 3rd and 7, finds Jennings for 7. On 3rd down and 6, he scrambles, Ponder does, for 7 yards. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns today. And his Vikings are up by 3. Little will watch this go out of the end zone.
The Minnesota Vikings defense has turned up the heat here in this building and really put the pressure on Hoyer. Second half interception by Chad Greenway. Another ball tipped, knocked down right there. And then this ball is tipped up in the air, comes down in the hands of Aaron Henderson. He's able to get the interception to set the table for Christian Ponder to put more points on the board.
The gains in the backfield. Obadiah is wide. Timeout taken by the Vikings. 10:47 in the 4th. 2 left for them. They lead by 3 in the dome.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by TD Ameritrade. Moto X, designed by you, assembled in the USA. And by oneandone.com. Pre-reserved now from over 700 new domains with oneandone.com.
Cleveland Browns have been held without a first down in their last 3 series. Here they have it from their 21st and 10. Hoyer to Gordon. Looking for a block. Little provides it. And the tackle made by Greenway with a shoestring grab, an 8-yard pickup, and they'll put him at the 27.
Good tackle by Greenway, or Josh Gordon's going to set sail for even more yards. Now North Turner is just trying to figure out, where do you attack his defense? And do you allow Hoyer to start throwing the ball all over the place when he's already thrown 2 interceptions here in the second half?
Second down and 2. McGahee at his side. Gordon. Sherrills defends, makes the stop. First down to the 38. He picks up 10.
Easier to keep the ball outside the numbers. Just a long throw, but Gordon's a big target. Working against Sherrills over there, is able to haul it in. They're effectively one-dimensional in this game so far. They've manufactured some rush yards by the way of the fake punt, the end around by Josh Gordon. 103 yards rushing in the game, but the lion's share of that coming on those 2 plays, and the ball wasn't carried by a running back.
Open eye on the move. It's first down and 10 from the 38. Hoyer, who tried to put that in a very small window, and the coverage by linebacker Marvin Mitchell. They were going for Gordon. To New York and James.
Cincinnati back within 3 of the pack.
Aaron Rodgers picked off for a second time for the first time since 2010. Leads to this Andy Dalton 14-yard touchdown pass to Marvin Jones. Extra point blocked. 30-27. Green Bay leads.
10:55 left in regulation. Kevin and Solomon.
Marvin Jones, their 3rd receiver in Cincinnati.
They need some opposite of A.J. Green.
Second and 10. Robinson devours Hoyer. The sack to the 28. It's the second one by the Vikings today. A loss of 9.
We told you they had a couple of bookends there. You see him working against Mitchell Schwartz. Look at the dip and the rip. He just blows right by Mitchell Schwartz, the right tackle for the Cleveland Browns. And Robinson has proven to be a formidable guy on the other end of that defense, opposite of Jared Allen. They can get loud and they can heat it up real quick here inside the Metrodome.
No one has given up more sacks in the NFL than the Cleveland offensive line. 3rd and 19. Hoyer behind an open Jordan Cameron. Now, he would have been well shy. They were playing deep. He had to get to the 48, and they got to punt the ball on 4th down.
Yeah, but he wishes he had thrown a better pass. It's just the pressure on Hoyer. They're starting to get some hands in his face.
Spencer Lanning, who has thrown a touchdown today on a fake field goal, will punt this to Marcus Sherrills. Signals for the fair catch. It's allotted at the 20. 50-yarder by Lanning. 3-point lead for the Minnesota Vikings. Cleveland has lost Jabal Sheard, it looks like, for the rest of the game, but a pretty good replacement in the rookie out of LSU, the 6th overall selection, Barkevious Mingo. 1st and 10. Here comes Kruger. He's had a terrific game. Incomplete to the fullback line, covered on the play by Robertson. Tuesday on CBS, Person of Interest moves to its new night and time. Don't miss the season premiere Tuesday at 10/9 Central, only on CBS. 2nd down and 10.
Paul Kruger turning up the heat. He's living in the backfield of the Minnesota Vikings and in the face of Christian Ponder.
Peterson today, 82 yards on the ground, 2nd and 10, AP. Boy, they have plugged the gap. Hughes that time wraps his arms around him. No gain on the play.
Just great tackling. Hughes that time, if he doesn't get him, Peterson's in the secondary and off to the races. And not only did he come in with a nice hit, but he was able to wrap up on Adrian Peterson, take him to the ground by himself, something you seldom see.
5 defensive backs, 3rd down and 10 for Ponder. Rudolph, grabbed by a screen, drags him to the 30, picks up 9. He'll be shy of a first down.
Wow, that was really close. Rudolph was doing everything he can to stretch and drag defenders beyond that first down marker. Ponder goes with it quickly to get it over to him, but Rudolph's a big guy. Look at this. He's dragging screen. And then Owens comes over there, able to get him down just before he can hit that first down marker.
Jeff Locke will punt after 2 consecutive scores by the Vikings on the 8-yard touchdown run by Ponder, which tied it, and the Walsh 30-yard field goal. And Travis Benjamin, fair caught at the 26. 43-yard punt. Brian Hoyer, 2nd career start, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Here he comes again.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the redesigned Honda Odyssey. Honda, start something special. And by Subway. Any regular footlong is a $5 footlong at Subway this September.
Vikings just punted. They've scored 10 unanswered second half points. Hoyer with the 1st and 10. Rainey in the backfield. Thomas the block at the left tackle. And he's got Bess, who's been a reliable receiver today. He picks up 14 on 1st and 10, goes to the 40.
Very reliable. And obviously, I think the presence of Josh Gordon has truly helped the guys in the underneath as receivers, Devon Bess being one of them. Jordan Cameron as well.
7 Bess receptions today. Rainey remains 1st and 10. Here comes Robinson. Here comes Henderson. There goes the fumble. It's loose. Schwartz falls on it back at the 21. Unless they marked him down, which they did at the 30. It's a sack nonetheless and a loss of 10.
Here, watch Henderson. He'll come late. The green dog blitz. He sees the running back, Rainey, takes the blitzer, and so he replaces him. It's a green dog blitz. That means if the running back picks up Greenway, then you go ahead and replace Greenway and go get the quarterback. Exactly what Henderson did on the play, forced the fumble as it's recovered by the Browns.
How about Henderson? 2nd leading tackler in the NFL today. 2 sacks, a pick. Making the switch this season to middle linebacker from the outside. 2nd and 20. Jordan Cameron with 2 touchdown receptions and a good-looking stick by Notre Dame's Harrison Smith. It is a gain of 5. He's up to the 36.
Oh, you got to like Harrison Smith. He's got, I think, great hips, great range, and great athleticism. We told you, 6'2", 214. He covers a lot of ground for a big man. This defense is shutting down what Rob Jasinski's offense was doing in the first half, getting nothing done. 0 points, only 82 total yards, and 5 first downs in the second half of the ball game while turning it over twice.
Third and 15.
False start. Number 73 offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Yeah, cheap trigger finger there for Thomas as he has had to battle all day long Jared Allen.
And it's even harder. The louder it gets in this dome stadium, the more difficult it becomes for the offensive lineman to hear the snap count of the quarterback. You get the itchy trigger finger and want to pull up with the speed of Jared Allen coming off the corner.
3rd and 20. They need midfield. Underneath, Obaniah. Good open field tackle there by Marcus Sherrill. Pickup of 7. Well shy of the first down. Another punt. The 3rd consecutive for the Browns.
The penalty was crucial because it knocked them back and just forced Hoyer to dump the ball off. No real shot at picking up a first down with that pass selection.
So with the injury to Cook, and we've also noticed that Sanford has been gone. Jamarcus Sanford has a hamstring. He won't return. So 2 starters out of the secondary for the Vikings, yet their second half resume defensively has been terrific. Sherrill's back at the 13. 48-yard punt. Get inside the mind of a quarterback. Join Phil Simms Rich Gannon and Steve Berwine on NFL Monday QB. That's tomorrow at 6 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
4:22 left in the game, Kevin, inside your own 15-yard line. Now, that 4-minute offense involves number 28, Adrian Peterson. Pound the run game. Chew up the timeouts the Cleveland Browns have left and eat up as much clock as you can by allowing him to churn out yards running the football.
Peterson 82 yards today on 24 carries. 1st and 10, the end around. Patterson. Good tackle by Jackson. Chases him down from behind. Back at the 14, no gain on the play. 2nd down and 10.
It's going to take 2 or 3 first downs on this drive if you don't want to give the ball back to Brian Hoyer in that Cleveland Brown offense. This is where teams with a running game, I think it's very important, your ability to eat up clock in your 4-minute offense, usually done by running the football. Yeah, you may have to throw it on 3rd down to convert into a new set of plays, but you got to allow Adrian Peterson to take over the ball game.
And 2nd down and 10. Peterson, there's the hole. There was a block by the tight end, Carlson. Tackled on the play after a gain of 5. On the wing, looked like Robertson got a hand on him on that defense for the Cleveland Browns. And a timeout taken by the Cleveland Browns. 1 remaining for them. The Vikings with 3.5 to play.
And that's what running the football does. It forces the opposing team to burn their timeouts. Rob Chudzinski hoping by stopping the clock you get a stop here on 3rd and 5. But if you're Christian Ponder and company, it's a critical 3rd down play. Got to be able to convert, get the 1st down, and now you can eat up even more clock. And you make Rob Chudzinski regret calling that timeout.
On a week where they saw about as much off the field activity as they saw on the field, on the practice field. You surprised by this performance from the Browns?
I'm not, because in talking with Chudzinski yesterday, I think he gave the team the message that the expectation is the same. We got to go out and win games. They all talked about it's a young football team, but they also now understand it's a business as well.
Vikings have called timeout. So that's 1 left for Minnesota, 1 left for the Browns. Ponder will come over and visit. I'd like to remind you, coming up next, a couple great young quarterbacks. Andrew Luck of the Colts, Colin Kaepernick of San Francisco. And the Bills will take on the Jets. Jaguars tangling with the Seahawks. Check local listings for the game in your area. Here on CBS through week 3. I mean, we've been on a roller coaster, haven't we? We've seen more twists and turns in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that's the NFL.
That's the NFL, and it's fun. And I think coaching is a huge difference. You know, everyone comes, I think, to the stadium with a really good football team, as you see here today. The ability to coach your team to victory is paramount in the NFL.
Watch for Ponder. He has scrambled for 1st downs on 3rd a couple times. This time he overshoots Jennings with the coverage by Hayden. It's 4th down. They got a punt. It's 3 and out. Ponder had such great success taking the ball himself and finding a 1st down on 3rd downs in this half.
Yeah, but look how there's containment here. It was just a soft rush, not going to allow him to take off and break contain and run the football.
They'll punt with 2 deep back return men for the Cleveland Browns.
Best good field position, Kevin.
And Benjamin, you're right. Locke sends it to Benjamin, and they'll start at their 45. 36-yard punt with a timeout, 3:21 to play. Now, we've just been told that Cundiff may still be able to kick. We'll have to find out. They're down by 3.
Brian Hoyer struggled here in the second half. That interception by Harrison Smith occurred in the first half. He threw one in the second half to Chad Greenway, another one to Aaron Henderson. So 3 interceptions by Brian Hoyer. You count the muff punt by Travis Benjamin. Cleveland Browns have turned it over 4 times, but still with a chance to tie the game up here in the 4th quarter.
Cundiff, they say, has a tight quad, so we'll have to wait and see. 1st and 10 with Obanaya in, looking for Best. What a nice play by Sherrills.
Sherrills has had himself a good ball game.
He sure has.
He's down on the play. He probably thought he should have had an interception.
Probably exhausted. He's played about everything on defense since the injuries to 2 starters in the Viking secondary.
And look at that. He's been their best cover corner on the back end of the defense. We know Harrison Smith is a playmaker, but This young player has played a well of a ball game with Chris Cook out.
Good point. Into the nickel, 2nd down and 10. Robinson is blocked. Hoyer way over the head a little. And the coverage on the near side provided by the rookie Xavier Rhodes out of Florida State. He's coming off a good game against the Bears last week, forcing 3rd and 10.
Now they're forcing 3rd and long. You got to try to find or hope you can catch this Minnesota Vikings defense in man coverage. They don't play a lot of man, mostly zone. But then you're Brian Hoyer, got to find the best matchup advantage. Usually that's going with best or the tight end, Jordan Cameron, if he's matched up with a linebacker.
Still the nickel, 3rd and 10. Blocked by Obadiah. They got Gordon on a slant. He's got the first down. To the 44, pickup of 12 on 3rd and 10.
It's just a good play. He's matched up against Xavier Rhodes, the rookie. 1st-round pick from Florida State. The big body of Gordon gets inside, and that's why it's an easy catch for Gordon.
1st and 10. Gordon again. Hit by Sherrills down to about the 41-yard line and a pickup of 3 with 1 timeout remaining. Clock continues to roll, and Gordon hobbles to the sideline.
Yeah, that's because Sherrills closes in so quick.
He does.
They get the catch, but nothing after that.
You can hear the chants of defense. 2nd down and 7.
This is where your pass rush for the Minnesota Vikings has to begin to pay off.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen with Cundiff if they get in field goal range. The quad is tightening. The offense is moving. 2nd down and 7. And the catch by Obadiah. Run out of bounds by Josh Robinson. Has the first down to the 30-yard line. Picks up 11 on 2nd and 7. We've reached the 2-minute warning in Minneapolis. The punter is getting ready to kick, and the kicker's getting ready to hold.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Except the punter has kicked before.
In college at South Carolina, 1st and 10. Hoyer, good block by Thomas. Going deep and looking for little, and all kinds of purple around him, including Andrew Sendejo.
There's a lot of purple closing in on that ball. It was overthrown. Little never got to the spot. Sendejo was closer to that ball than Little was. This is an area, though, where you want to take a shot while you still have room. At this point, do you want to get Lanning closer more than you want to take a shot at the end zone?
Lanning did kick in preseason with the game winner in Chicago. 2nd down and 10. And caught by Cameron, who was belted by Harrison. Did he reel in the ball? Yes, he did, to the 17-yard line. A 13-yard pass completion. So on this drive, a pass of 12 to Gordon, 11 to Obadiah, and 13 right there to Jordan Cameron.
That's the same play. You can see a ball did come out when Harrison Smith made contact with Jordan Cameron. Cameron's able to recover it.
It is a first down. Hoyer again, another completion. Here comes the twirling Gordon. Corkscrewing to the 7. Hit by Sendejo. Close to a first down. They give him a first down. 1st and goal to go, Cleveland.
Now, he's a pure receiver. That ball was put on his back hip. He's still able to haul it in with one hand.
What a drive engineered by Brian Hoyer in his 2nd career start. On the drive, it's 1st and goal at the 7. To the end zone, and incomplete, no one home, and the coverage by Rhodes. They were looking for Little. 2nd down and goal.
They were to take Little out of the play. He never even got off the line of scrimmage, Kevin. He's got to do a better job of winning at the line of scrimmage, escaping the defensive back and getting to the back pylon where Rob Trzynski in this offense expects him to be. Right now, it's either Gordon, Best, or Cameron who are making plays for the quarterback, Brian Hoyer.
The drive began back at the 45 at Cleveland. Hoyer today, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks in his 2nd career start. 2nd down and goal at the 7. 1 timeout remaining. Hoyer throws it away. Longtime Tom Brady understudy, now faced with 3rd and goal at the 7. So if you're just joining us, the Browns scored 24 points in the first half. Minnesota has scored 10 unanswered second half points. Hoyer is starting as a third-string quarterback coming into the week for the injured Brandon Weeden. A week that has been very turbulent for the Browns. The trading of what was thought to be their offensive cornerstone and running back, Trent Richardson. They bring back their number 1 receiver after 2-game suspension. He's had a big day. It's 3rd and goal at the 7. For Cleveland born and raised Brian Hoyer. Here comes Allen. There's the pass. It's a touchdown! The 3rd today by the tight end Cameron. Can you believe the Browns on 3rd and goal at the 7?
I can believe it because it was with 10 seconds left in the game 1 week ago in Chicago that Martellus Bennett, the tight end, was able to score in the same corner of the end zone on the same side of the field. And now 1 week later, the tight end for the Cleveland Browns, Jordan Cameron, matched up against Harrison Smith, able to make the same kind of catch for what they hope is the game winner.
Now here is the punter who is kicking because the kicker is battling a leg issue, a tightening quad. Hoyer will hold, something he has done in the past. This is the extra point, and an important one. It's up and in. The punter, Spencer Lanning, who has thrown a touchdown pass today on a fake field goal of 11 yards to who else? The tight end, Jordan Cameron. We have about 5 MVPs today for the Cleveland Browns, and Cameron right there on top. He came in statistically today as one of the top receiving tight ends through the first 2 weeks in the NFL.
This has been one heck of a football game. Remember, it started for Cleveland with the touchdown pass, 47-yarder to Gordon, and then the fake field goal touchdown to Jordan Cameron. And Hoyer, they turn up the heat on him in the second half. He throws 2 second-half interceptions. Christian Ponders uses his legs to score 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. And then Hoyer, 3 touchdown receptions for the tight end Jordan Cameron. We told you he was an emerging star, and they use him to get another score for this Cleveland Brown offense.
Hoyer on that drive was 6 of 11, but on that drive, which started at the 45 of the Browns, he hit Gordon for 12, Obaniah for 11, Cameron for 13, and eventually the 7-yard touchdown pass to the tight end Cameron, the former college basketball player out of USC. The ensuing kickoff and picked up on a bounce, and this is Toby Gerhart, the fullback. And jumping on his back with the return, Eric Martin, the rookie out of Nebraska. So, Christian Ponder, who has had 2 rushing touchdowns himself today, on a day where Adrian Peterson has gained 88 yards, will have it 1st and 10 with a single timeout and 47 seconds to play at his own 29.
And no one, Kevin, thought it would come down to this in a tumultuous week in Cleveland where they trade what presumably is their best player in Trent Richardson. They, of course, leap over their 2nd-string quarterback Jason Campbell to start the 3rd-stringer Brian Hoyer, and yet they have the lead with 47 seconds to go.
Browns in the nickel, 1st and 10 for Ponder. Crumbling pocket. Peterson's got it. Hit on the play by Robertson. Gain of 4. Clock continues to tick. They get as far as the 23. 33. It is 2nd down and 6. Ponder again to his tight end Rudolph in front of Hayden. Out of bounds, clock at 26 seconds. That's a gain of 4.
At some point, if you're Christian Ponder, you got to take a shot over the middle of the field. Most times, defenders are trying to cover the boundary, knowing you want to make a catch and get out of bounds to stop the clock with 26 seconds left. But remember, the Vikings do have a timeout left. So I think you got to be able to take a shot over the middle of the field. Be prepared to call a timeout.
Ponder with the 3rd down and 2. Simpson on the move and brought down on the play by Jackson. Catch and run takes him to the Cleveland Brown 47. 15-yard pickup and a
good-looking
first
play.
down.
Yeah, good-looking play. Smoke screen. Got 2 bodies out in front of you. Just make sure you get out of bounds. I thought Simpson was covering up and clutching that ball. It wasn't quite sure if he was going to make it out of bounds.
4-point lead for the Browns. 2 winless teams. 0-2 Cleveland, 0-2 Minnesota. 1st and 10 from the 48 of Cleveland. Load Hope the block at the right tackle. In the middle of the field, it's Rudolph. Hit by screen. Gain of 7 finally A timeout taken by Minnesota. They had no choice with a pass thrown in the middle of the field.
Yeah, you get the sense, though, that Ponta could have run for more yards there than had he thrown it to his tight end, who had been double covered there. A little pump fake there. I think he's going to run for about 20 yards. Then you call that timeout. Take a look here. Look at as he's approaching the line of scrimmage. He's only just a few yards shy. See how the defenders covering in on the tight end? He could have pump faked them there and maybe gotten more yards had he kept it himself.
Game clock has been readjusted to 15. There's a look at Brian Hoyer. He grew up wanting to play for the Browns, idolized Bernie Kosar. Kosar called him, in fact, this week. Wished him good luck, taking the place of the injured Brandon Wheaton. And again, the interesting story was he wasn't even the backup. He was the third string.
Got to take a shot at the end zone at some point here, Kevin.
2nd and 3. Ponder thinking that. Now he's going to go underneath. It's Peterson. Racing out of bounds at the 35. No timeouts and 10 seconds left on a 7-yard pickup.
And now you're talking Hail Mary. Usually takes about 7 seconds to run your average play in the NFL. I don't know that you're going to think you're getting 2 more plays out of these final 10 seconds. Got to try to get the ball down inside the end zone.
Cleveland sticking with the nickel. 5 in their secondary. 1st and 10 for Ponder at the 34 of the Browns.
Middle of the field, Hail Mary.
That's what he's going for. And deep and looking for Simpson. Coverage by Ward and to Sean Gibson. 4 seconds left. 2nd down and 10.
How about this? They're going to get another shot. Now, look at the orange helmets. Just creating a wall at the goal line. Really good job. But Wright nearly came down with that ball as a rebounder.
Moving everybody back. Linebackers are deep. In addition to all the defensive backs as you see.
If you're in the trail position defensively, remember, you want to pick off any rebounders who may try to get that ball coming out of the pile.
Timeout Cleveland. That's the final timeout. A 2nd and 10 coming up. Leading by 4. 4 seconds left in the game.
What a job Rob Chudzinski, head coach of the Cleveland Browns, have done with this football team. He put them all together this week after the trading of Trent Richardson. He told them, look, our expectations are the same. We're going to play hard. I believe in you guys in this room. We can win with the players we have on this football team. He told his team, yeah, we traded Trent Richardson because we believe we're going to be armed with the ability to get better in the future. But presently, he felt like this team was good enough to still go out and win games, have the production with a committee of running backs, and in no way, shape, or form did he told his team, we're not waving out the white flag of surrender.
2nd down 10, 4 seconds to play. Browns on top. Last chance for the Vikings. Ponder hit and brought down, and Cleveland wins. With the sack, Desmond Bishop, 7th consecutive game with the sack. The 6th by Chudzinski's defense, and Brian Hoyer comes up with a win, his first career and the first career head coaching win of Toledo-born Rob Chudzinski.
And take a look at this. He thinks he's going to get outside. 92 Des Bryant hauls him in, gets the sack. That's how you close it out. The exclamation point, the 6th sack of the ball game for this Cleveland Brown defense. Rob Chudzinski is elated, getting his first win as a head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
A turbulent week. He got them straight. He starts the 3rd stringer. He brings back his #1 receiver, Gordon, after a 2-game NFL suspension. Hoyer throws 3 touchdowns, and the Browns have won their first game in Minnesota. For Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan, good afternoon from Minneapolis.